All right, folks, we are back with yet another tier list with our good friend Solus Cross, professional player and commentator for the M1 Grand Prix, amazing Battle Network 6 player. Today we are going over every single standard chip in the entire game. Of course, we've got a chat room full of people who have got their own opinions as well, who can be chiming in too. I'm not going to lie to you folks, there's going to be a lot of junk in this, and Sol, I was kind of wondering, do you think that, like, is D and F kind of the same thing? Like, I know... Like, do you think it's worth even calling them D chips? Because I think there are some really bad chips too. Like, what's your take on that?
There are some D chips, and that's going to be some pretty hot takes in there. But I definitely think there should be an F tier.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, let's see if we can... There's probably a way we can just, like, add that. Yeah, add a row below. There we go. Yeah, let's do an F as well. Because I think... Yeah. Now, I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure the difference between F and D might not be that big. But it'll be fun to debate. It's always fun to debate the little nuances and
I almost feel like there should be a caption under A as well that should say, like, definitely try and build around this, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the things in A aren't going to be, like, staple, but it's definitely, like, really solid chips that are pretty explosive or do something really good for you.
Yeah, like if you're in the chip code, right? Like if you've got a certain type of strategy, like you were saying, if there's like... If there's reasons to nudge you in that direction, you should definitely play them, right?
Exactly.
Now, what would you how would you define B and C?
B would be like good and has a niche. C would be like, it's okay, but you wouldn't see more than a few in your folder. D is like very niche, but can fulfill a role. And F is just, bad.
Yeah, just bad. Okay. That is not how you spell fulfill. All right. And then F. Yeah, we know it. We all know what F's are. All right. Well, I think we should just go in order. That's probably the best way to start off everything. I'm thinking all cannons are F. Do you think there's a world where mega cannons in D or something? Like, what's your take on that?
This is where the first hot take is going to come.
Let's hear it. What's your mega cannon take? I want to hear it.
So cannon and high cannon definitely can just go right to F tier because
absolutely
mega cannon comes in star code, and that's like where the niche comes in. We're gonna put mega cannon in D, and the reason being is that it's a star coded null chip, so really good for chip charging, does really high damage. You do have access to something like Elec Cross that can chip charge it to do paralysis, which is pretty niche, but it's interesting. You also have the ability to use Beast Out with this. So you can use Beast Out and just auto-aim on an opponent who's paralyzed or something like that. And it gets the bonus damage modifier. And it can actually remove Life Aura after a Beast Out as well.
That's so funny, yeah. It has a very, very, like, awfully small niche. The fact that it is star code, I think... And that's why even me, I was like, I think you could make an argument for D. But yeah, I think realistically speaking, you're probably only going to see Mega Cannon in like a pool party kind of format, right?
Yeah, like it's a fun chip. Shoutouts to a good friend of mine, Marvino. He's the one that kind of showed me that, hey, a lot of these battle chips might not be the best chips ever, but you can still do really cool things with it. And that's definitely one of those chips that he kind of showed out.
Yeah, that's fun. I love that. Yeah, and I think that's probably worth saying too. Like, I think... For the most part, this tier list is going to be like standard BN6 battling, but like we can give nods to like maybe different formats where they might have a time to shine. Like small nods. That wouldn't be like a big selling point for a chip, but like maybe, right? We can consider all the uses because I think most chips like when we start debating B, C, and D, I think that's when you have to start thinking like what are some other alternatives for this. Okay, so starting out with Air Shot. Okay, I think easy F.
So yeah, Air Shot definitely easy F.
Yeah, I think because there's so many ways to push, right? There's if you really wanted to push a freaking rock cube, you could just literally dust cross. Like yeah, there's so many. I can't think of a single reason to use Air Shot even in star code. All right, now I think Vulcan 1 and 2 are easy F. Vulcan 3 I think does have a small niche with Beast Out and in smaller limited formats. I don't know if it's enough of a niche to really brag about, but what. I think Beast Out Vulcan 3 is like... How much damage is that? That's like, it's like, 5 shots?
So it's 5 shots, and each shot does 20 damage. If you're in Beast Out, it gets the plus 50, so each shot does 70 damage.
right?
It comes in A code. It comes in A code, G code, and R code.
Those are actually all pretty decent codes. That's funny enough.
Yeah, they're actually really good codes. A code is not too relevant, but G and R are relevant because you get uninstall in the same code as those.
Right.
So you could realistically get some pretty cool combos out of this with after an uninstall, or if you have a white capsule, there are some decent damage you can do with this. It has that role. The bigger problem is outside of that, it relies heavily on a white capsule. It relies heavily on a
like Elec Cross, I guess, or something. I don't know, some way
or
to stun
uninstall them. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a little not too great for that, especially since you can always chip charge it with a Greygark Beast Out or Beast Charge, so you can get value out of it that way.
Yeah.
But
I'm really
a little too weak.
I'm curious what you think the difference between C and D is here, because like I think you could make an argument for C. I think D is pretty safe though. I don't know.
I think D is pretty safe. I feel like it's a really fun chip. You can definitely do something with it.
Yeah, cool. All right, Super Vulcan. This is a cool one. So if you guys, I hope everyone knows what Super Vulcan does. In this game, unlike other games, I believe in 4 and 5 it's 10 damage with 12 shots. I think in BN6 it's 20 damage with 10 shots. Great damage output with Beast Out. It's literally like an all or nothing kind of approach in a lot of folders. What are we thinking on Super Vulcan?
Now, I think this might be a super, super hot take, but I think Super Vulcan is easy A tier.
Yeah, let's hear more. Like, what's your analysis? Because I like Super Vulcan a lot. I think it's a fun chip.
So we have to focus that it does 10 shots, right? So 10 times 20 is only 200. It's not that big of a deal, right? But now factor in Beast Out for that plus 50. So now it's 70 damage per shot. So...
Oh, it's a plus 30, right?
Excuse me, plus 30.
50,
so
yeah,
it's
50
damage per shot.
Yeah.
And then it's 500, right? So just for beasting out and going for this combo with the white capsule, you get 500 damage out of it, which is really not bad for 2 chips, right?
Yeah.
Now, it gets better, because we can put attack plus 30 and beast out with this.
Double points.
It's doing 800 damage. We can double point, right? And it gets really obscene very quickly with this chip, and it gives you so much worth out of it. So it comes in V code, which is a little unfortunate, but the damage that you get out of this chip just makes it something you should try out and build around for.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually Super Vulcan is literally the definition of build around me, right? This is not a chip you would just casually slot into any folder, but if you're really planning to go all in with, the white cap / uninstall, with the, your double point souped up, attack 30, beast out, I mean, you can just delete people. Like, you can absolutely just clap them real easy. So I think...
In our most recent tournament that just happened yesterday, Player Zero dominated the winner's bracket with a Super Vulcan in that build. It didn't come up in Grand Finals, but every match beforehand, it definitely came up because it just melts through your opponent's HP, and they had other powerful chips that we'll get to later that on top of the Super Vulcan that you have to deal with, it just does so much.
Yeah. I like it. I think A is actually a really cool spot for it. I think it's like it doesn't see as much play as it should. I think it's not too crazy to go around in it, and I'm excited to hear that a skilled player like Honor Knight was able to do really well in like the winner's bracket of a tournament playing with it.
Oh no, that was Player Zero. Player Zero.
Player Zero. Sorry. Maybe I may have gotten it mixed up, but still a great player nonetheless. And yeah, that's awesome. All right, now we got spreaders.
Spreader's a little weird. Unfortunately,
you can do a program advance, I guess. Haha, I don't know.
The program advance is actually really fun and has really cool like viability, but this unfortunately isn't a program advance tier list.
Yeah,
so that's an easy F.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's throw in the F tier. Now I will say Tank Cannon. I actually got kind of hyped up watching the N1 stream a few days ago, seeing Tank Cannon 3 get played. I was like, wow, like. I don't personally like this chip that much, but I wonder what your take on Soul on it is. What's your take on Tank Cannon?
So Tank Cannon 1 and 2, I don't really think are great chips.
You're never gonna play those. I think you can easily throw them there.
However, Tank Cannon 3, I could see that in C tier. No, well, no, not C tier. Maybe a D tier. It's actually a really solid chip. But, you know what? No, I think I'm right. I would put C tier for Tank Cannon. It does 200 damage, so no setup required to go ahead and break a life aura. Breaks the entire back, or cracks the panels of the whole back row. Applies big push on a confirmed hit, which is really nice for controlling movement and getting people out of your area if you hit at right.
Breaks life aura. Breaks life aura.
It does a lot, and it's a null chip that you can chip charge if you don't feel like you can get the value out of it. If you have Tank Cannon in code, might as well try choosing one. Like BMP are really solid codes. B and M especially. Like, you have some really good combos. So yeah, there's a lot of great things for Tank Cannon 3 in this game.
Yeah, I think C seems like a safe spot. I've seen some people in chat maybe pushing for B, but I think C probably sounds good for now, and maybe we'll adjust later if we.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it. But C seems pretty good. I think there are uses, which is cool. Like, it's not. There are definitely uses for that chip, which is interesting. All right, the Gundell Soul series. I guess we'll leave EX for now. We'll stick with the first three. These are chips that get stronger in literal sunlight. So, you know, if you jack out, if you do your net battling outside, you get the maximum amount of damage, and that literally means, you know, don't be in Land's house. You know, save outside of Higsby's or whatever. Gundell Soul 1 is interesting. It is star code, but the damage gets higher with the three chips.
Yes,
and I think Gundell Soul 3 is very good, mostly in combination with Kernel Force. I think it's very, very good. And I wonder what you think about 1 and 2.
Now, 2 is interesting, but I think 1 is a bit more interesting than 2 is, because you can get star code Gundell Soul 1. It does check in this, and it's a single chip that does about 240 damage if you're not in the sunlight. And that's really respectable for a level 1 chip. You know what I mean? Like, it's very underutilized. You can combo with it if you have getting strats or some ways to lock down your opponent. So I definitely think D tier for like a level 1. Level 2.
Sorry, give me your rank again for level 1.
I think D tier for level 1.
Right.
Since it comes in star code. Level 2 is just as good. It comes in B code and R code as well, which, and even E code it's pretty good in. But it just doesn't have the power. It's not as flexible as 1, since 1 has star code, and it's not as powerful as 3. So I can't really give it that D tier placing. So I think I would give it a maybe an F on that one.
I think D is. I think I would push for D, only because I'm looking at the caliber of chips in F, and I'm like, I just don't think.
Yeah. Oh, true. You know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
360 is also good damage, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow, Honor Knight literally just wrote that. As I said it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny.
I think so too. And then...
Yeah, for sure.
Super curious your thoughts on 3.
A tier.
Right?
A tier. There's not even a discussion.
So strong. And honestly, like, if you're in Gregor, I think it's pretty hard to even give it up. Like, I think it's on the same code as Kernel Force, which you're probably running. And, like, the combo is just so strong. It's pretty interesting.
Exactly. If you've ever watched Nerith play, he doesn't even play on code for... And Nerith and Player Zero, actually, for all the codes. So W code is really strong, has some Mega Boomers in there. If you play Geddon strats with Tank Tomahawk, you're going to do a lot of damage, and then you have this on code as well. And then there's N code for the air raid combos, with Meteor Knuckle and Neo Variable in the same code as well. Yeah, this chip is just really good.
Yeah, I love it. Love to hear it. Okay. We've got Gundell Soul EX. If you guys don't know the difference, it is basically Life Sword range in terms of it doesn't start right in front of you, but there's a Life Sword range right after. Extremely powerful chip, banned in many cases. I think, is that just easy top tier?
That's easy. Easy as.
And in G code, which is arguably the best chip code in the game. Like, which, as if it needed any more help.
It's this chip in the mod card format that solidifies G as 100% the best coded folder.
Yeah.
Like in a patch card format, this just does everything you want it to do.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to play it, especially if you can get uninstall in the same package. You get elemental coverage from the dragons. It's just
Graham NSP. Yeah, there's a
it
ton
has
of good
everything,
work.
dude.
Ton of good work. All right, we've got a personal favorite chip of mine that's unfortunately not very good. We got Yo-Yo, which I think is in Star Code. We got Yo-Yo. What do we think about Yo-Yo, y'all?
So Yo-Yo is also actually my most favorite standard chip in the entire game. So I love this chip so much.
I feel you. I feel you.
There's a little bit of bias, but I will say this: if you do get the uninstall, you will be able to land all the hits of the Yo-Yo. Now, what makes Yo-Yo not so great is that it doesn't have the quality it did in Battle Network 3, which was that Blade had the collision hitbox. It doesn't have that collision hitbox in this game anymore. So it's not as resilient.
If there were someone listening who didn't understand collision hitbox, how would you describe that?
So think of like a rock cube, right? If you threw out a rock cube and pushed it with an air shot, right? It has that body, so if your opponent P-shots into it or does something to it, it'll eat the hits and block it, kind of like a guard chip, right?
Okay.
And if it collides with an object like, let's say, Rook from Battle Network 3, it would destroy the Rook because of that hitbox, right?
Oh, okay. So you're saying it's not quite breaking, but there's a spot for it to break? Is that what you're saying?
Right, exactly. Depending on how you hit something, right? But in Battle Network 6, that is completely gone. So...
Okay. Are we thinking D or F? It's probably hard. I'm like you. I'm biased for this chip. I think it's a fun chip. I think it probably belongs in F, but I don't know.
It has to go in D. I mean, it can D cross Tengu because it is sword elemental.
Is it really sword elemental? Really?
Yeah, it's sword elemental, so you can D cross it with that.
Oh, that's kind of fun. Okay, so it has like a very small star code use. That's enough for me. I'm gonna throw it out there in D tier. All right, so next up are the what are they called in English? I know in Japanese they're hell's burning. These are
fire burners.
Fire burners, exactly. These are fire burners. So they're pretty cool. They're like 3 fire shots ahead of you, and they leave crack panels afterward. I believe Fire Burner 1 comes in Star Code, which has a use, I think. Even if the damage output is not great. What's your take?
So, Fireburner 1 is actually the more interesting one because of that star-coded, right? And what you tend to see is it being teched in to Beast Rush combos, right? Because Beast Rush combos kind of need that extra damage. Like, okay, so if you're playing E-Code, you can set up a Wind Rack into a Corn Shot into a Fire Burner, and that's 100% a true combo. Because
and the grass panels, and you'll get the double damage from the grass panels.
Exactly, and because you're in the Star Code, you'll get that value out of it. But even in E Code, you're probably going to be playing Fire Burner 3 because Fire Burner 3 comes in E Code. I just remembered, but in J Code you have Fire Burner 1, which is in Star, so you still get the value, and it's an easy way to decross Tomahawk, who's going to try and resist or phase through all that stun you have in your E-Code or J-Code folder, right? Sure. So it's a nice check for that. The other big boon is that it cracks panels that it runs over, so it's like a zoning tool as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you think about how good Elec Dragon is, I mean, obviously that's a really fast chip that cracks a lot of panels, but we can see firsthand like how powerful even something as innocuous as cracking panels are. So yeah, what's your take on the placement for each of these? I think 2 is probably the worst, unfortunately, just because of not being in Star Code. Yeah. So that's probably the worst one, which probably D. I think we just tossed that in D.
I think D.
And then
but Fireburner 1 and 3, I can see in C Code.
Yeah. I think that's respectable. All right, next up is Wide Shot. If you charge it up with Aqua Cross, that's 200 damage. Extremely hard to avoid. It's basically wide sword range as a beam. It's okay. It's got some uses. I don't know. What's your take on Wide Shot?
I think Aqua Cross and Wide Shot has been heavily underutilized in this current metagame because a lot of people are looking for easier things to do damage with, and it's funny to say that about wide shot, right? Wide shot technically is really easy to use, but it doesn't provide a ton of value unless you're chip charging it with Aqua Cross, and people aren't usually trying. You can't really build a folder around a single cross, which makes it inflexible.
Yeah,
right? Because you're only doing 100 damage. You could do that kind of damage with a different chip and not cause flashing, for instance, right?
Not cause flashing, and the 100 damage with other chips are going to give you extra effects too, right? Like your fire burner is weaker, but it's cracking panels. You know, like there's definitely like, you know, I think 100 is very weak. I mean, honestly, charge shots are stronger than 100, right? So like
exactly,
you know,
you
have to really
my time. Yeah, exactly, dude. Like I can spend my time charging a shot and wait for that and hit you with it and have time to charge up again. Or I can use a wide shot, which is a chip slot, you know?
Yeah.
You have to be using Aqua Cross to get max value. So I think, honestly, I would put wide shot in D tier.
I would also throw it in D. I see not third, maybe pushing for C a little bit, but I kind of feel like even in the best case scenario with wide shot, you double it with Aqua, maybe there's ice panels to freeze. I still kind of feel like it's just not enough. I don't know. Is that just me? Maybe I don't know. Not third person is very good, but I feel like D is pretty safe. I feel like D is a pretty.
I think D is safe because there is a case.
Plus weird chip codes, right? I don't think the chip codes are anything too crazy either. Now that I think about it.
Wide shot chip codes, if I remember correctly, are. Let me see. They're I'm trying to remember.
That would be a good reference for me to pull up. If someone in chat wants to drop a link to us to one of those, like Trez or something that has all the chip codes, that'd be good for us to bring up. But yeah, I don't think anything too crazy.
Oh, PQR, that's what it is. So it comes in Q, it comes in R code. R code's pretty good for it because you have uninstall, which means you can't dodge the uninstall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I think that's where. Oh, ice panels. If you can throw down an ice seed, you definitely get a nice little lockdown as well.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think D.
I think D. I think
yeah. In fact, yeah. Okay. Next up are the Train Arrow series. These are chips that get stronger the more distance you have with your opponent. So if you're in the very back row and Mega Man, the opponent Mega Man is in the very, very back row, you're gonna get what I think 5 shots. It can be doubled with Aqua. Yeah. Honestly, pretty scary damage output with like Train Arrow 3 and some other ones. But also like. Not the easiest thing to set up, right? It's kind of like Super Vulcan in that way, where you need like stunning or freezing or some way to like really keep them in place. What's your take on the Train Arrows?
So I would immediately dumpster 1 and 2 into F because they don't have the output of damage you want out of a chip for the setup you have to give for it, right? So 1 and 2 I think automatically just fall into that. But at that 50 damage, it sweet spots really nicely, especially if you're going for like Aqua Cross or some kind of ice setup. You can get a lot of damage out of a Train Arrow 3. It comes in M, S, and Y code. So you have really solid codes there for M and S. And I honestly think this chip is pretty solid. I also like to see it in Link-Navi format, if we're talking about different formats really quick. And in Link-Navi format, you do have Aquaman who can go ahead and chip charge this. You do have Aqua Cross and Standard that can chip charge this. And unlike the wide shot, it does give you more damage than 100, right? And that's kind of what we're looking for out of our chips.
Absolutely, yeah. I think like in Magical Christmas Land, I think you're doing 500 damage if you charge it to 100, and then you get 5 hits. And like, you know, even like getting 3 hits is still pretty good. That's like 300 damage when you charge it. So like, if
you're in the further backest of your most road, you will get the maximum hits. It's like, I believe,
I think it's 5, but maybe it's 6. Could it be 6?
It can be 6 or 7. It's a lot you can get out of this chip. It's really good.
Yeah. Are we thinking A or B?
I think B. I think this is good and has a niche, and it's really nice.
Cool. Now we got the Bubble Stars. These are very fun chips. They throw out an annoying little starfish that moves around the field in a really obnoxious, like, you know, kind of positioning, almost like machine guns in a way. If they touch you, you will get bubbled, which means that your next electric attack is going to be doubled. What do I take on the bubbles?
All 3A, 100%.
Yeah, so good, right? And it's interesting that their chip codes are solid. Like, it's amazing that even Bubble Star 1 has like some pretty good work too. Yeah. Now I do see some folks are maybe pushing for B for some of the chip codes. Do you think that there's a difference between like obviously I think B3 absolutely honestly, insanely good.
Okay, my reason that I would put all of them in A is there's multiple reasons. One, first of all, you have to think about the speed at each one goes across the field, right?
Yeah, 3's blazing fast.
3 is fast. 3 is really fast. 1 is the slowest. And 2 is pretty mid, right? It's a pretty decent mid. Now, think about Street Fighter, where you throw a slow Hadouken and then mix it in with a fast Hadouken, right? So you see across the stream is 2 different timings you have to be prepared for. And that timing can within itself be a mix-up. Having any kind of crowd control in your folder is always going to be excellent, first of all, as well. Like, because Bubble Star 1 comes in B code, which is an excellent coding. And it's just, they do so much for you, right? They just do too much for you to not, like, consider ever playing it, especially if it's in code. Even at a lower level, they just do too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think even though, like you said, 1 is slower, the fact that you have to account for that, like, it's still not an easy positioning, to dodge all the time. Yeah, let's do it. Let's throw them in A. I think they're all just, like you said, there's just so much use for them, just in general. And then the wombo combo electric damage output is like always really solid too.
The slower Bubble Star is interesting too, because you can throw out all of them, but depending on your range or where you are, depends on how fast you can get your charge shot going, right? So if you're in Electros and you throw out the slow bubble, you can zone and get damage no matter what, because they're trying to pay attention to the bubble and your charge shot at the same time. Yeah. So it's a lot of them to really focus on. It's just really solid.
Couldn't agree more. All right, we got Thunder. It's just Thunder in this game. There's no 1, 2, 3. It does come in star code. It's a teensy tiny little electric ball. Homes around a little bit, does 40 damage and stuns the opponent. What's our take?
F tier. Too slow. It's the chip that wants to be BDT, but it's not BDT. It's just not 40 damage on this. Not worth it. No.
Yeah, no. And if you want to stun
niche for it.
Yeah, well, do you think the niche is enough to bump it to D?
No. The niche is Beast Jump, and it's very surprising. It's hard to dodge, but no.
Yeah, no. I think that's super fair. All right, now we got our Doll Thunders. This is pretty much Elec Cross's charge attack. It's a pretty quick beam of electricity that goes 3 panels ahead. I think Doll Thunder 3 is in the same chip code as Bubble Star 3. I think I could be wrong. Maybe Bubble Star 2. There's some pretty solid damage output. I kind of think B, personally, but I'm kind of curious what your take is, Sol.
1 and 2, unfortunately, I would put in D tier because they just don't have the damage that 3 does, and you rarely want to tech them outside of the codes. Yeah. But for 3, I would definitely put in A because, well, not even A, B. Yeah, the reason I say B is because you can get the bubbles with them together, and it just shreds through HP.
Yeah, I think B is good too, and the reason why, I know this is kind of like thinking of chips in a vacuum, but I just feel like you think about chips like Elec Dragon, and like the Elec Pulses. I feel like those are just like better electric options, like in a vacuum. Where I think B, like, just super solid damage, like you said, you're probably only running it in combination with bubbles to get that 360. Where I think those other chips have like a little more utility overall. So that's kind of my take. And speaking of the devil, we've got our Elec Pulses. I think they're all great. They obviously do different things. They're kind of interesting in that way. Elec Pulse 1 will stun the opponent, paralyze them. Elec Pulse 2 will drag them closer. And unfortunately, it is the poster child for people who love to bash the Legacy Collection for adding lag for no reason. Absolutely no reason. Nerfing it for no... And I will jump on this. I'll jump on that bandwagon. Look, Legacy Collection's great. I don't know why they decided that was necessary, but they did nerf it.
But they did.
They did. They gave it that lag. And then the final one, Elec Pulse 3, gives them a tiny HP bug. So what's our take on the 3 Elec Pulses?
I think 2 of these are great, and one of them is not like the others.
Okay.
So 1 and 2, I would put in A tier, 100%. However, Elec Pulse 3 is so clunky and awkward that I would put it in D tier.
In what tier?
D.
D, really? D tier? That seems really harsh to it.
Well, the thing is, it does a decent amount of damage, 140, but it reapplies flashing. It can pierce flashing, but it reapplies flashing. Whereas 1 and 2 remove flashing from the opponent and either paralyze or do a pulling effect, which removes flashing and it allows you to follow up with attacks.
But now, so you got to think about Destroy Pulse too, right? I mean, this is not a chip that doesn't see play. Like, it's a
sure, 100%. But this isn't a program advance setup. You know, we're not thinking about just the program advance. We're thinking about the individual chips. We run it to play the program advance. Like, usually in a folder, you'll see maybe 2 copies of 1, definitely 3 copies of 2, and 1 copy of 3 because we want the program advance. We don't really play that many of the third one, right? It does have the niche of the bug that it gives, and I think it's okay. But it's not flexible for combos, and that's kind of what we're really looking at. If we want combo potential, we want the most bang out of our chip. In Elec Pulse, since it reapplies flashing after Invis Piercing, it's just kind of awkward. Because now your opponent has movement, they can punish you, it has a little bit of an M lag to it.
There is lag. No, there is. I guess for me, and maybe we're thinking of it like in different categories here, because I guess for me it's just like the fact that you do see it, even if you don't technically use it. I think like even just being in a meta program advance, D just seems so harsh. Like I want to throw it in B, to be honest with you, or maybe C. You know, I think I could live with C. D just seems really mean. I don't know. I just feel like there's enough of it that gets played, even if it's in a, you know, not, even if you don't actually see it outside of the program advance.
I've never seen anyone play it outside of the program advance. So that's
I still think that's part of the utility of the chip, right? Like it's still part of like what the chip is, you know.
I can give it C, but I personally, it's rough because the other 2 are so good. They are so really amazing.
Good. Yeah, they're really good.
This one doesn't have the same weight, but I'll put it in C. I think it's fine. It is an Invis Piercing chip at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it. Yeah, exactly. Invis Piercing, HP bug. You know, it's not amazing. It's not nothing. And yeah, honestly, the main reason I just want to keep it at a D is because of Destroy Pulse. And yeah, maybe, you know, whether we count that for or without the program advance, you know, is interesting. But yeah, I think that's all pretty solid. All right, next up is the Risky Honeys. They put out a little honeycomb that as a temporary defense. I think the bees hit 5 times. They spit out, is that right? I think
each swarm hits 5 times, correct.
Okay, yeah, and the more you get hit as you hold out the honeycomb, the more bees come out. I believe they cap out at 5 bees too. I think that's correct. Does that sound right? Okay. Bees are solid. What's your take on all 3 of the bees?
So I'm gonna need you to add another row.
Okay.
It's just gonna be S tier.
Okay. Well, this is not. You think? But it's. I think Staple's implied to be S, right? I think it's implied to be S.
Yeah. Okay, so put them in Staple.
Now, do you think are all 3 in good enough codes? Okay.
All 3. So let me tell you exactly why I think all 3.
Okay.
Risky Honey 1. After a chip charge and double point. So let's say we double point it and the base damage is now 70 and we chip charge it to 140, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's nasty.
145 times.
That's
is a lot of damage.
That's like 700, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, bees are broken. They're ridiculous. And even if you're in Gregar, you still play that. Because think about it this way, right? There are times mid-tournament where Salad or Player Zero or these high-level players will use Risky Honey 1 not even in Tomahawk Cross. They'll be in Dust. Or like Aqua.
As a good mix-up. Yeah.
For the mix-up. They're not getting the double boost from those ships. Think about that. But they're still using the combo, right?
Yeah, they're that spammable. They're that solid. And then like we're not even talking like heaven forbid you catch someone who's spamming their Beast Buster, right? Yeah. And you're just like getting all those hits.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty...
Thousand Buster. Yeah, 100%.
And another thing to think about too is I believe Grab Revenge is like a true combo. With,
it's true.
I think that's M. I think Risky Honey 3 and Grab Revenge come in M code.
And B code.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So it's amazing because you get the double points to maximum to boost your Bs, and you even get like the extra hits and the pushback with the grab, which is super cool. So yeah, I love them.
These are broken chips. Like if anyone tries to say A for this one, I simply have to disagree, because you can even play these chips in Gregar without the boosts and still get tons of damage value out of them. Like think about hitting a ×2 on an Elec Cross against an opponent. And you're Gregar. They're never going to expect it. They're going to get hit for a ton of damage, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. No, extremely good. And I guess one last note, just, not that it impacts it negatively, but I think the Bees actually block guard-breaking chips, but then they lose to burning chips. So if there's a fire chip, they won't work. But they will actually block like a Golem Fist or something, which is quite funny. All right. We got Rolling Log. I saw some memes in chat earlier about Rolling Log, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I guess Rolling Log 3 you could like tomahawk charge it, and I think it's in like W code, which is like funny, but I don't know. What's what do we think about these rolling logs?
1 and 2 definite F, and 3 I would put in D. The reason I put 3 in D is because it does have a niche role. You see what I did there? Because it has a niche role. Anyway, it has a niche role. And you can play it on code, like in F. And I am a little biased towards F code, so bear with me. But in F code, it's an extra option to decross Elec Cross that people don't obviously will ever expect. It comes on code with a great Giga chip. I wonder which one that is.
Yeah, couldn't be Forte. Could not be Forte.
It's really solid. It's really solid.
Yeah. Well, solid in the D roll.
Yeah, solid in the D roll.
maybe even like near the top of D. I don't know, but yeah, it's and it's funny. I see Nexit saying they can be destroyed by Buster shots, which is quite funny.
They can. So, that's the one. If that wasn't a thing, I think I would definitely put Rolling Log higher. But it's because they can be interacted with so easily that it kind of becomes problematic. Yeah.
Plus, there's like you think about Risky Honey and the Boomer chips being such good wood chips. And same with Wood Dragon. I think Wood Dragon's solid too. So it's like got a lot of competition for wood damage, I think. All right, next up. Ooh, I love these machine guns. They fire 9 times total. You're never going to hit all 9 times though, because they hit panels in weird ways. I think realistically you get like 3 or 4 hits if you can actually flinch them or get them. But even then, like, it's a pretty hard chip to dodge. It is cursor, so it breaks through traps like anti-damage, anti-navi, destroys Dustcross. What's our take on the machine gun chips?
Okay, once again, one of these chips are not like the others, in my opinion. Yeah. But in the opposite way of before.
Okay.
3 and 2, instant A tier.
Okay.
But number 1, it has to be an S tier.
I was about to say the same thing. That star code, so important.
That star code, baby. Yeah, it
so
does
important.
Everything, bro.
So important. And honestly, 2 and 3, they're in pretty good chip codes. They're not awful at all. In fact, Julian up here in chat, he rocked our in-person tournament running in a race cross machine gun 3 build that was like just tearing through people, dealing a lot of casual damage. That's like super hard to stop in terms of like anti-damages and stuff. It's great. Yeah,
I could see 3 in S tier too. Like honestly, maybe all 3 can be in S, because if you have this in code, or everyone has an in code star, you're gonna play it. Like if you're playing G code and you're gonna tech in some machine guns, you're gonna play it G. You're gonna play it like.
Now I will say.
Yeah, sure.
No, I will say this, and actually, Petit, I'm really glad I saw this in chat. Believe it or not, all 3 machine guns have the exact same speed. I used to think that they were different speeds and had different effects. They are all identical. And actually, there were times for me, and this is anecdotal. This is not necessarily a reason to keep it out of S code, but there were times that even though I was mostly on code for Machine Gun 2, I still like the star flexibility of like always having it and always dusting it. That I picked star, or I picked the Machine Gun 1 because the speed is the same. So you know the damage output difference is not like massive between 1 and 2.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think we keep 2 and A. I don't know. We're splitting hairs, but I think 1 and 3 are phenomenal chips, and 2 is also very, very good too. So
yeah,
yeah.
I think this is proper placing for it, 100%.
Cool. Yeah, and honestly, A is like no disrespect.
It's still really good. Yeah, A is
no disrespect.
Okay, so about your argument with having the flexibility, if you're playing nothing but like G codes. And unless you really need a machine gun for your giga chip turn, which isn't usually necessary, but unless you really need it for a specific mega chip, you don't really have to like.
True. For me, it was
off code, you know.
Yeah. For me, it was like dusting. It was like always nice to be able to dust it away, like to have the star for that purpose. But yeah, it's exactly what you say. If you're mostly on the same code, you're gonna play it. Like, may as well do it. But yeah, good stuff. I love these chips. They're extremely good. Extremely
really good.
And now we got another solid set of chips coming in with the dragons. Fire, Elec, Aqua, and Wood. Fire is the only one that has no panel effects. Elec Dragon will crack panels. Aqua Dragon will leave ice, and Wood Dragon will leave wood panels. What are we thinking for all these dragons?
So, Fire has to be A. Elec instant S. Aqua, I say A, and Wood, I say S. Now, I think Fire and Aqua, I value a little bit lower. Well, S, making those ice panels is kind of nice. It's just, the code's kind of awkward for, like, splashing, and you don't really get anything out of it, right? Like, if I was going to splash Aqua, I'd have to be... You rarely see Aqua splash. You have to be playing the code to have Aqua.
Yeah, I think you're dedicated ice, which I think is a good reason for A, right? Because I don't necessarily think that people are like, oh, I'm in the code for Aqua Dragon, I'm just gonna put it in willy-nilly. Maybe they do, but like
sometimes you do.
Yeah, but I also think like you're probably building around the ice panels.
But you also have to think about like situations. If you're a Gregar player and you're playing S code and you use Aqua Dragon on your opponent, right? If they move off of the center panel and you're in a slash cross, you now have the safety of standing center row and just using your slash cross, right? Uninterrupted. They have to have something that hits on the side or on that kind of panel conversion to punish you. If they can't line up with you, it's really problematic. And the ice panels, they're underrated. It is an underrated chip for sure. But you don't.
But is it underrated in the S code? Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
Like,
it can't be underrated in the S code, which is why it has to be A for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
But with Wood Dragon, if it's on code, you're always playing it. Like, it's just that important. And it's the grass. It's the grass and the breaking that people really want to deal with Life Aura, and of course your fire combos if you're playing Blast Man. Like, it's just too good.
Yeah. Plus, like, I think it's like wood is in. I know wood and fire can go together, which is cool. I think they're both G and T. Is that right? Something like that. Yeah, which is pretty spicy. And yeah, no, I think this is the proper placement for all of them. So, good stuff. All right, we got air hockey. This is
air hockey,
a fun chip. Definitely the biggest meme of BN4 ever.
Sure.
But it's only one little air hockey, man. It's only one little air hockey. What are we thinking?
Okay, I need to break this misconception immediately, or a salad will actually destroy me.
Let's hear it.
Pit hockey is worse than using the air hockeys individually. Let me repeat that.
Really?
Pit hockey, the program advance, is worse damage-wise than using each one individually. Please keep that in mind.
Wow. Is that this is damage output? What's the...
It is damage output. So think of it this way, right? If you're in Beast Out and you go for a air hockey play, you can combine that with a white capsule and you can seamlessly throw out each air hockey in a row, and they'll all bounce and do the damage that you're trying to deal. And it's really solid combo, very powerful.
Okay.
You have to be in beast out, or else there is a significant end lag. It's the beast jump that makes the air hockey kind of like seamless. But if you're not in the beast out and you're in a regular cross, there is end lag after throwing out one of the air hockeys. But outside of that, it is very, very important that you know that pit hockey is not great.
And Nexus got a good point too. He's saying that you should run them all in the same code too. That's also better than like having the janky different letter setup codes in your setup. That's funny.
For sure.
That's a fun fact. I love that. All right. That being said, if we're spamming air hockeys on the field, what are we thinking about that?
I honestly have to say D, and that's only because the prevalence of like dust cross or making broken panels or holes is just so good. It just loses to that hole a little too much for the damage that you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a shame. It's a fun chip, but yeah, just not really the meta for it. All right, we got Drill Arm, another really cool chip. That's a fun one from BN5. Shoots out it's like a long sword range, pushes you around a bunch, and yeah. What's your take on Drill Arm?
Another not so great chip. I feel like these are fan favorites, and they always will be, but they just don't do enough, right? Maybe if this had slightly more damage, like a base 90 or 100, you definitely see it a lot more, but they just don't hold up the weight. I think D tier for this chip is a safe bet.
Agreed. It's a shame. It's a fun one, but yeah, just not quite there. All right. Now we've got Tornado. We might even talk about Static close to it. These are very similar chips. Tornado is a big classic in the BN series. It hits 8 times, so 160 base. It's a lot of multi-hitting. It is wind, so it will blow away barriers. It will decross, erase cross, and it will also combo nicely with air spins to get extra tornado hits. What do we think about Tornado?
I think they're both A tier. Tornado and Static is both A tier for sure.
Okay.
There are combos with Tornado that can melt your opponent's life points. Like, if your opponent is playing 1,400 life points, or life points, where are we playing? Yu-Gi-Oh? If they're playing 1,400 HP in their cust, you can legitimately turn one, destroy them if you open the God Hand. Yeah. And it's really hard to stop. Really, really hard to stop. I definitely feel like... And in Static, that range, if you have a couple of bugs, you can reg this. You can reg this chip and just immediately check somebody try to go for that cheeky turn when you race cross. And even if they don't go race cross, that's an undodgeable base 160. Like, that's really good.
Oh, yeah. It's extremely good. And, like, the fact that you can combo with the air spins, I think that's always fun.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually get the maximum value out of your statics. It's kind of a Christmas dream, but there is some fun potential you can do with that as well. I like those chips a lot. Wow. I'm just gonna put Mini Bomb, Mega Energy Bomb, and Energy Bomb together. Yeah. See you later.
Garbage chips.
Goodbye.
Garbage chips.
Now, some bombs that are a little more interesting. We got the Flash Bombs. Flash Bomb 1 and 2, when you throw it, they'll detonate and paralyze. They also pierce through invis. And Flash Bomb 3 will also blind the opponent, I believe. You blind and paralyze them. What do I take on the Flash Bombs?
Inner me wants to put them in S tier.
Okay.
But it is so hard to put the bombs in S tier. I think they have to go in A.
Yeah, I
think Flash Bombs have to go in A.
They're really cool, right? Because there's a lot of tempo you can gain, right? Like the fact that you can reliably throw them without worrying about invis, killing their invis, setting up combos as you're doing, beast attacks. They're very, very cool. I really, really enjoy them a lot. Yeah, I think A is fine. Now, question though, do you think is Flash Bomb 2 in weirder codes? I know Flash Bomb 1 comes in Star. What are the codes in Flash Bomb 2? Are they all right? They're probably all good. I don't know. It's probably not worth splitting hairs.
So Flash Bomb 2 comes in G, K, and R, which is really solid codes for uninstall. So one of the best things about these chips, if you attach an uninstall to a Flash Bomb and throw it, and your opponent tries to body block it to prevent it,
Oh, they'll still get uninstalled.
So it's really solid for that, which is why I put them in A tier in the first place. Like,
yeah, they're
really
basically
good.
they're basically unavoidable. You need like anti-damage, I guess, if you want to actually stop that from happening.
The only thing stopping this chip from being S tier,
A lot of holes, hole meta,
dude.
yeah,
Holes,
lots of get-ins,
man.
yeah. It's a shame because you're right too. Like normally you can just step on where the bomb is gonna land, and then like you won't get paralyzed. But
exactly.
yeah, there's that, and then there was something else I wanted to say about these. I see Nexit talking about rage. That 2 and 3 give you enough paralysis to get rage, which is pretty scary.
That's true.
And kind of interesting. And I will say too, lobbing the bomb, you're pretty prone, right? Like there's a lot of frames where you're pretty vulnerable as you're launching it in the air. Like I could even see a world where it's B, but I'm super happy. I would be very happy to give them A. I think they do a lot of stuff, like for what I think the risk of the opponent stepping on it, the risk of the holes, and even the risk of you being prone. I think it's still, I think it's like even with all those downsides, it's still a very, very powerful chip. So I think
you can do really interesting stuff. Like you can go Slashman SP, get those hits, and then throw a flash bomb. They can't interact with it because they're still flashing. And they can't body block it. And by the time they come out of the flashing, it will explode, right?
Yeah.
And get the paralysis out of that. So they just have really great
Lots
mix.
of cool.
They're solid chips.
Super cool. We got Black Bomb. If you can't tell by my tone, I would like it to be better than it is. It's a lot of damage, 250.
Yeah.
You got to burn it up with some fire to hit. I think if you lob it on a fire cross, it will blow up and deal 250. Otherwise, I think it's like 100 if you lob it on them. There's some weird situation with that. But what's your...
Shoutouts to Honor Knight playing that build way back when. I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
No, and also shoutouts to this anonymous gift sub. Thank you so much for the gift subs, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. Really appreciate that. Anyway, tell us more about Black Bomb.
Honor Knight played like a really cool build one time, and he was like throwing the bomb, and then he would just like charge tackle into underneath it just to get an explosion off. It was really cute. It was fun. But
that is cute.
The chip doesn't see any kind of success outside of that. No. Like, I remember that play.
Would you see a world where it's in C, or do you think it's D?
I say
it's like it's kind of splitting hairs. Okay.
Yeah, I think C. The reason is it's 250 damage, but you also have to commit to lighting it up, which is a problem for me. If they body block it, it doesn't do 250. It does like 100, I guess, so you lose out on damage if they body block it. Yeah, I'll leave it in C.
Yeah, we're being nice. I think there's definitely some awkward stuff about it. And yeah, like Julian says, does pop life for her, so and the damage output is cool. All right, we got the Aqua Needles. These chips, unfortunately, they do lock in on the opponent. They're really hard to dodge. There's 3 shots that go. Unfortunately, they flash the opponents. So unless there's ice panels, and I think the ice panel you only get 2 hits, right? Because the first will freeze, then the second will flash. I think you have to combine this with Whitecap if you want all 3 hits to go off. They're pretty awkward.
Very, very awkward. So the first 2 instant F tier, don't even bother. Aqua Needle 3 though, if you have 2 of them in hand and you have 2 white capsules in hand as well, you can do upwards with the Aqua Cross. You can do upwards of like 700 damage plus off of that combo. It's really, really strong combo
and very hard to dodge too.
Very hard to dodge.
They basically lock onto you like fully. They might dodge 1 hit, but they'll almost definitely take 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there are uses for Aqua Needle 3 with a white cap. C, D. What?
Once again, the problem with those chips are you're using 4 chips for maybe 800 damage, and that's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of setup to get that too. So I have to say C tier for Aqua Needle 3. It can be really strong, and it will devastate people if they're caught off guard by it, but. Yeah,
I think of Black Bombs in C. I think Aqua Needle's in C too. So it's cool. All right, we got our corn. This is the biggest meme in all of Battle Network. Obviously, the N1 has got some amazing emotes based on our little popcorn friends. They fire off a little shot. I believe they hit 2 times. They leave grass panels, and then if there's like obstacles they could like chain together. They can like connect to each other like a snake. But that's like not realistic. What do we think about these little cob boys? What do we think about about corn shots?
All right, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. We might really need to make that extra tier list, the extra tier slot, bro. It's Cobb, bro. It's Cobb, bro. Cobb tier, please.
We can't be. We can't possibly. How can you possibly? How can you disrespect?
You can't.
The amazing power of the Cobb tier.
And even on a serious note, using Cobb 3 or 2 in code with Beast Rush combos is devastating. Setting up that grass and then following it up with some really powerful fire or tornado, yeah, that's really good. So, shout outs to Cobb.
Oh yeah, the best emote ever, I think. And yeah, definitely
100%.
Some good stuff there. All right, we got Bug Bomb. Has the same downsides we talked about earlier with throwing stuff. Yeah, there you go. Cool. It doesn't even deal damage, man. It's like it couldn't even like flash bombs deal like 40. Like you're telling me Bug Bomb couldn't deal damage? Like come on now.
Just useless. Just useless.
Yeah, come on now.
All right. No, he said explain why Bug Bomb is bad. Okay, for sure.
They give you some weird. Yeah, well, they like. Is it random? I think it's random what bugs you get. It's like actually they're not even bugs. It's like blinding and confusion or. Like, what do they actually do?
It can also apply a HP bug. It does act as, like, an object, so they can't walk into it once it's set on the field. But the fact that it doesn't do anything outside of just giving a kind of harmless bud is like, eh. Yeah. It does have the option to give crack step. That is true. That is pretty nice. But it's not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. And you're not even dealing damage. And it's not in star code. And you have to lob it. Yeah, there's just so many strikes against it, I think.
Yeah, it's just not. It doesn't do enough. And when you play a chip, you want either really, really good damage or you want consistency. So it's not great.
Yeah, agreed. And even on right saying it's like a 1 out of 16 chance to give crack panels. That's so funny. So extremely unlikely. All right, we got grass seed, ice seed, and poison seed. I think they're all pretty similar. I personally don't care for them that much because of the dragons and boomers and other chips existing. Poison seed is the only way you could do poison panels, but like even then, poison panels are pretty janky and not very good in my opinion.
So
what's our take?
All these chips, all the seed chips come in star code. So if you're running a code on that, you're wasting your time. Just 100% B for grass. But I would put ice and poison in A tier because they just do a lot of work for you. Ice says B tier for poison. I kind of disagree because the passive damage and if you can inflict, HP bug on your opponent through Erase Cross's Beast Charge, you can get that going there. The passive damage is pretty nice.
See, that's interesting because I've always felt like poison was kind of like do nothing. It was kind of like it doesn't help you in damage judge. And like, it can deal damage over time, but like you got to draw it early, and then like the opponent could like.
It's also they're all outs to Sanctuary. They're all perfectly viable outs to Sanctuary. Like imagine turning your ability to half damage into you lose a life every few seconds, or even less than that. It's like you lose life really fast. Actually, it's not really fast, but pretty quickly you lose life. So Poison Seed definitely has some value. The grass one is irrelevant because of Wood Dragon. Like, if you're going to be setting up grass, you might as well be getting 130
I feel the same way. And, like, I guess Ice is different because you really only have Aqua Dragon. I guess maybe, like, Element Man's Wide Sword Ice Attack if you really wanted to do Ice Panels. So there's not, like, a lot of ways to set it up. I kind of want to put them all in B just because I feel like there are better options and you do have to lob them. I don't know about A. A seems kind of high for them.
I think B is fine too because these aren't things that you really want to staple or you really want to like play around unless you're trying to do something with them.
Exactly. If you're really building around these strategies.
I think B is fine for them 3 too. Cool. Honestly, they are solid chips though. They are definitely solid chips.
Cool. All right. We've got sword, wide sword, long sword, wide blade, and long blade.
F.
Yeah.
F.
I think all of them can go behind. I will say there is a tiny bit of fringe use you could have. with wide blade and long blade if you really wanted some double hero nonsense. But I also want to go on the record and say double hero is not even sword damage. Okay, I thought it's crazy, and you can't boost it. You can't boost. It's like double hero has like never been worse. You basically, I think F is totally fine.
In all due respect, I think they did correct with double hero, because if double hero was sword elemental, bro, Tengu Cross would be like the most vulnerable. Like, oh no,
so
like, that would be so much.
Yeah, or imagine boosting it with attack 30s or double point or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a program advance, but you're like, I don't know.
I'm with you. I don't know either. I think F is fine. I see a use for wide blade from the chat, charging up a slash cross, but I think it would still rather do like an Elec sword or a fire sword or something. It's like, you know, I would not mess with that. So yeah.
I like wide blade is 100. It is 150. It's 200 if you're slash cross. So it is value in that regard. That is true.
Okay, we could throw a wide blade in D. We could throw wide blade in D. I think that's okay. We'll give it that nod. Fair. There is a use for it. That's not like a dumb use. All right. Fire sword and aqua sword I think are pretty similar. They're both pretty. They're literal wide swords that have an extra bit of range. I will say that I personally like fire sword as some tech. I think being fire and sword is really cool against Tomahawk and Tengu. Which is kind of cool. I think there are uses. I don't like Aqua Sword very much, but I think Fire Sword is kind of cool.
I think Fire Sword sees more play than Aqua Sword, but Aqua Sword's really good in A-code combos because it's a sword and Aqua type elemental, so you can get your opponent's Fire Crosses with it, or Tengu you can get a Tengu Cross with it, right? Without a doubt, any sword is going to hit Tengu Cross, so you definitely need it for that. I think the B tier is great for Fire Sword and Aqua Sword, and even Wood Sword. But Elec Sword, I don't mind. You know, I would put all of them in B.
I'll be honest, I was leaning to the top of C for Wood and Aqua. Do you think that's splitting hairs though? Do you think they're good? Because I feel like they have uses, but are they B uses? Like, do you think that they're like? Would you want to be reliably?
Definitely B uses.
Okay.
Because you have to also remember, Bamboo Sword doesn't flash.
That is true.
It can be chip charged by Tomahawk. Like, if you're playing Beast Rush Folder with Tomahawk Cross, or if you're playing W code, right? With the Mega Boomers, you have the mix-ups now for wide Bamboo Sword. And it does the times 2, 280, or excuse me, 300 after a slash if they're trying to dodge around Boomers. And now you have this crazy mix-up game that's going on. But yeah, I would definitely put all four of them in B tier. I think they're that good.
Okay. All right. Oh, Windwreck. I'm just gonna slide it up to S. Yep, I'm sliding it up all the way up top. The fact that this boy is star code, that he doesn't flash, that he will always, well, not always. There are fringe ways that he won't get rid of a life aura, but it will basically always get rid of a life aura, regardless of if you connect. It can be used in Beast Rush combos. Like, the uses are out of this world. I love Windwreck. It's one of my favorite chips.
I think it is a bit of a reach to say this, but I say it usually anyway. I think Windwreck is the best standard chip in the game.
No,
it does everything, dude.
Yeah,
everything you could possibly want it to.
Like, and we haven't talked about getting your area back from area grabs, right? Like, you know, being able to. I mean, there's and one of the few ways to get rid of like an erase cross. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that are just insane. Yeah, I love Windwreck. In fact, I'm just gonna let's swing her up over there. Yeah, I think it's really, really good. All right, Step Sword, man, what a cool chip. What cool art.
Yeah,
you know, he's like, I love BN3, so it's fun to see the BN3 chips, but
it just doesn't do enough.
Yeah.
I think that's an F1. I mean, you can do some cheeky stuff with it. If you use Step Sword, you can step on a hole even if you don't have air shoes, which is like, I guess.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I think of Wide Blade, because I think Wide Blade and Step Sword are pretty similar in that way, unless Step Sword's more awkward because of the placement. But I feel like if Wide Blade is in D, we can throw a Step Sword in D. Unless you, what's your take? Do you think it's worse than Wide Blade?
Wide Blade is better because you're stationary and you're throwing up the beam, right?
Yeah, how does Step Sword work with Beast? How does that even? I assume it's just the same as Wide Blade.
It's still auto aims. It's still it makes you jump to the panel that will be 2 panels away, so it's very awkward. But yeah, just generally not. It's just not as useful as the wide blade, which is really ironic because you're supposed to get the advantage of being able to step forward, but it's invalidated by Beast. So,
yeah, invalidated by Beast, and like Slash Cross is already doing Sonic Waves, so yeah, it's
yeah, I think it's pretty invalidated.
Man, I'm gonna throw him at the top though because I love his art. Okay, we'll throw him at the top of F.
Yeah, I would throw it at the top of F.
There we go. Sure. Looking at the rest of these chips, man. Let me tell you, he can hang right there.
Someone said that we should try differentiating S code from true staples, and I kind of agree with that. If we actually can make one more row for S code, S code for
so like for example, Risky Honey would not be in true S because like literally not every folder is running it, but like Area Grab, Windwrack, like that would be in true S. Is that what you're saying?
No, Windwrack would be in staple tier, but Risky Honey would be in true S.
So is it like an S plus or is it like
it's like an S. No, S. Well, staple is just. It's not really. It's kind of hard to explain.
Because I feel like the staples are going to be an S anyway, right?
Yeah. S minus. S minus is interesting.
Well, So what are we gaining? Because I'm just tell me. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just wondering what what would change, I guess, if we were to add the second one.
So I don't think every folder does play Wood Dragon, Elec Dragon.
No, for sure not. No, I feel what you're saying. So you want literally the chips that are in every single folder, bar none, to be in its own tier, and then below that would be like the extremely good chips that you would want to play.
Well, not necessarily extremely good, but mandatory chips you have to play. A staple means you need this in your folder at all times, right?
Absolutely.
It's not even about being good at that point, but they're also good for that reason, right? And right now, the only chip I see in there that is kind of like staple, only 2 chips, is Machin Gun 1, 2. And so Machin Gun 1 star, and then of course Windwrack. I think those are the only like you play this in your folder.
Yeah. So and they would be above.
Yeah, they would be above.
Cool.
They would be above.
No, I can totally get behind that. I agree. So we'll go right below. We'll say actual S tier. Cool. And
yeah, GDSEX should also stay there too. My bad. I wasn't even thinking about that. So the Risky Honeys would come down and the Dragons would come down.
Do you think Machin Gun 3? I feel like Machin Gun 3 does too, because like Machin Gun 1,
Gun
that's just like these are going to be like the actual backbone of your folder. Like you need a reason to take them out, right? Like you need a reason to maybe. Okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Welcome. Yeah.
All right. Var Sword. Well, it's worse than Neoberry. How much worse do you think?
Not much worse at all. Actually, I think if we're to put Wide Blade in D, I think you could also put Neoberry in D.
Okay. Well, Var Sword in D.
Yeah, Var Sword in D.
I was gonna say I think Neoberry is definitely a lot better than D.
Yeah, Neoberry is S plus.
Yeah. Now, if you guys are wondering, Var Sword and Neoberry, they're both weird chips that you hold the A button down and you do some inputs to make them do different things. I don't think Var Sword has any extra damage effects. I think it's always 160. I could be wrong. But I know for a fact Neoberry, you can do the cross divide to hit twice, and you can do double life sword to hit twice. So they're both extremely powerful. Now I will say, Neoberry, I agree with your placement because the raw like the unbridled power of Neoberry is like very, 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 very powerful. It is a expert's chip. Do not use this chip if you have not practiced your inputs, if you are not calmly ready to execute them in the middle of, the opponent time freezing as you're trying to do it. Yes. These are not easy chips to use by any means. The Beast helps a lot. Being able to Beast helps tremendously. If you have a folder that can maybe stun or bubble or something, that's helpful too. But still, the raw power of a single chip to do 440 is pretty cool.
Especially when it comes on code with one of the best gigas in the game, Meteor Knuckles.
It
just so good. So good.
Yeah, the N is good. Yeah. Now I'll give you 2. If you're on the Legacy Collection, maybe A. That lag is a little tough, but still.
True.
we're considering the best value of this chip, and I think you know, you can easily get 440 out of this if you're calm, if you practice your inputs, because it's quick. You got to be quick sometimes, you know, you really do. So
yeah,
just want to give that caveat to any newer folks listening. Moonblade. Moonblade does give you an HP bug. It spins around you. It's basically wide blade. It's wide blade with an HP bug. You know, it doesn't break life aura, I guess, with slash cross. I don't know.
I'm thinking D tier right next to White Blade in Neo variable, because there's nothing more fun than throwing a giant donut at your opponent at slash cross.
Yeah, it's really nothing more fun than that, and you get an HP bug. It's like, it's not nothing. You know, it's not amazing, but it's not nothing. But yeah, definitely D. Don't be running out to jam all the Moonblades in your folder, gang. It's
also hitting a back row object is pretty valuable. Sometimes you can't stop your opponent from putting a fanfare in your back row. Yeah, definitely for sure.
There's a niche use for that too. Definitely a niche use. Okay. Muramasa. This gets stronger the more damage you take. It caps out at 500. It's long sword range. What do we think about Muramasa?
Staple.
So good, especially if it's in your code. But even then, you can easily run it off code. The sheer damage output of this chip, and it doesn't take a mega slot. In previous games, Muramasa would take a mega. In BN6, it's quote-unquote free, right? This is a quote-unquote free chip. So you're saying staple over S?
I think it's controversial to say that you should always have this chip in your folder. But at the same time, if you're playing Erase Man and Element Man and Judge Man in your folder, then you should be playing it. This chip is ridiculously good. There is never not a reason to play Muramasa. Like, I genuinely think, like, you don't have to play every staple.
I think the chat is right though. I'm seeing it's like very similar to Neo Berry, you know, and it's not like you don't see it in literally every folder, but you're saying you could and should see it in every folder.
I think you definitely could and probably should in almost every. That chip just does too much. 500 off a single chip is really. I think top of S is fine, but I also think Neo Variable. I think Neo Variable. Yeah, I think they're close hand in hand.
Yeah, they're very, very. I think they're super close. They're both very powerful sword chips that used to be megas, and they have different. There's like different uses, I guess. There's different ways to do them. All right.
And, okay, hold on 1 second. There's a quick rebuttal to Raku. In the very, very recent Blood Moon tournament, top 8, Player 0 used Nero Variable and Muramasa in the same folder, and he was undefeated, landslide undefeated throughout all of the tournament.
Yeah, actually, a tournament we ran months and months ago, Not Third did the same thing. And it was. Yeah. I think he straight up won. I think he got first straight up, which I think does say and that's a folder which is cool because that's literally like maximizing the sheer damage output of every single slot, right? It's like the sheer potential of every slot you have is so massive. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is very, very cool. Sure. Yeah, very, very good stuff. Okay, now we've got machine. What are these called? Machine, elemental, and assassin swords. I think they all have different triggers. I believe the first one is only when they're stunned. The second one is when they're on a panel, and I think the third is both. They can be either or. They will hit anywhere as long as the criteria is met, and it's a lot of damage. I think they are also secretly sword chips too. I think they also do.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I'm seeing C tier in chat. That seems pretty accurate.
You cannot. These chips are really good. They're not used as often, which is kind of sad. I actually think they're either high B tier or low A tier. Like, these chips are really, really
all three?
Good. Yeah. Yeah. These are almost impossible to dodge sword range chips anywhere you want. Like, definitely B tier minimum, like, in my opinion.
I could live with them. I could live with them all in B. I think. I think they're just like, yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's like you need the setup, but the setup's not that hard. Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously the damage output is there. Like they're cool.
I think that's key. What Unanite said as well. They are with setup. They're very potent and they're beast chargeable.
Yeah, because they're not actual swords. They're neutral. You can always throw them away to a beast charge.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're kind of like they're like a panel return in that way. You can use them as is, or you can beast charge them. I'll take B. I see. I'm kind of with rock cubics. I feel like they're pretty niche, but I think if you do build around them, I think you could absolutely do some really cool stuff because the damage output's there. Like it's not like we're bending over backwards making wide shot a thing. Like
exactly.
Right. You know that is different. All right. Now we got crack shot, double crack, and triple crack. Man, I want to like them more than I do. I think triple crack has uses.
Triple crack is the most useful one that I would put in C tier. 100%, I would like to put triple crack in C tier. The other ones I would put in F.
Cool. If you guys don't know, they destroy panels and they also deal damage. So they're kind of like they also don't flash, which is cool.
Yeah.
They don't flash. Yeah, they're just
the panel's usually directly in front of you. The single shot one is useless. The double one just breaks the front two most panels in front of you, and the triple one breaks the 3 panels in a row in front of you, which is the most useful because it's almost undodgeable. You can throw like uninstall on them or a white capsule, or you can chip charge them with Elec Cross to do paralysis. So that one's the most usable.
Okay, I just unpinned that. All right. Yeah, agreed. All right, we got wave arms. I have never ever seen this chip ever get used.
I have.
Okay.
Specifically number 3, which is why I would put it in D tier. The other 2 are just F tier.
I know they do a really fast sonic wave. I think they track. I think they home on the opponent. Is that right?
I'm sorry. One more time.
I think they're like a sonic wave that home in on the opponent.
Yeah,
I think that's what they do.
The third one's pretty hard to dodge.
Are they faster? There's like a speed component.
Yeah, there is a speed component to it. 3 is definitely faster.
Okay, cool. I think D and Fs are totally fine. Yeah, I love it. Okay, aura heads. Fun fact about these chips: if you have a barrier or an aura, they get plus 50. That's all I wanted to say about them. They're kind of funny. They're basically three panels ahead. They're breaking damage. I guess you could like freeze the opponent. I don't know. Or head 3, I think has uses.
I think 3's useful. The other 2 aren't so much. In these kinds of chips, you want damage out of them more so than anything else.
Yeah, because like Magical Christmas Land, you have an aura up or a barrier to 220, and then you freeze them and you go to 440, which is cool. But then think about like Neo Very, which just does that by itself, right? It's like it's an interesting thing. I think I could see C. I could live with C for Aura Head 3. I think.
I think
it's okay. It's okay. You know, not great, but I think it's okay. Oh man, talk about chips I really want to love. The little boilers. They are funny. And they probably do have a use. You probably could build around little boilers.
They definitely have some uses. Yeah. They're actually pretty cool chips. They're very fun to use.
So they're objects, right? You throw them out, and they take a few hits. I think they can take exactly 3 hits. Then they will blow up, or over time they'll blow up. They'll spit out all the damage they absorbed, plus their base damage, and their aqua damage. So they will freeze on ice panels. Yeah.
they did really well though not to make them aqua elemental, because if they were chip chargeable for Aquaman, that would be a bit of a problem. But they're still really solid. I think you have to build around them to make them useful, so I would say C tier
for all 3.
Yeah,
they're pretty similar. I just don't know what the chip codes are. I don't know what the chip code differences are. I know one of them is an E code, which is fun with like a Lecman. You could do like a Lecman SP, and he would hit you once, and then he would strike the boiler to hit you a second time, and then also power up the boiler. I don't know which one is an E code though. I think it's 2. Not that it really matters. So it's splitting hairs.
And then 1 is an F code, so you can do Darkness PA. So
that's hype. That's really hype.
Yeah, okay. Someone did it in a tournament too. It was actually really sick. It was Uvu.
Did it do well? Was it?
Yeah, it actually did well. It was actually pretty funny.
That is fun. I love that. Okay, sandworms. They're neutral. They won't hit you at all in the back row, which is funny. And yeah.
Yeah.
I think F.
I would put 3 in D and then the others in F.
Yeah, just for the sheer damage, I guess. Yeah, it's.
You can also get some cheeky setups with Elec Cross. Like it's interesting, but it's nothing. You're not writing home about it.
Now the air raids are interesting. I think the only one worth talking about is the third one because I think it's like the amount of shots that get fired. Tell us more about the air shots because I know they place an object in front, then they go up in the air, and then they fire. They just rain down base style buster shots.
Yeah, air raid 1. What's different between the three of them is how many times they shoot or how much damage they do overall. They all do the same amount of damage, but it's how many times they shoot. And 3 shoots the most, and 3 is definitely up there. I would say 3 is either B tier or A tier, but definitely B tier minimum.
B sounds good to me.
And honestly, 1 and 2 aren't bad either. I would say like D tier for them.
C, you said, or D?
Yeah.
All right. Now we got fire hits. They're pretty quick little fire attacks. They won't go further than 3 panels in front. They will. They're fast, but they're not undodgeable. What do we think about fire hits?
I think 3 is definitely B tier. The other ones, you wouldn't bother with them because they just don't do the damage, and they're all too similar. Yeah.
And let's hear about B versus C, because I kind of feel like C, but do you think the damage is good enough?
It's on code with B code, and B code has high boomer, so it's a solid combo between them.
Okay.
Every folder that Fire Hit 3 is in has a decent chip or grass setting chip that goes along with it. Or that you can at least even put Grass Seed if you really want to, but it's just such a solid chip.
Cool.
Element Man also sets grass if you need it as well.
True. Now I am with Julian in chat. It is pretty easy to dodge, but I feel like if you're pretty patient or if you've got some setups going, you could probably do it. And it's in B. You know, if it's in literal B code, I think B is fine. I think that's not too crazy. All right, now we got these fire guys. I really wish they were cursor. I'm kind of sad they're not fire and cursor. These little because they are literally cursor chips that you like go ahead and like land the damage on. I also don't think they work on holes. I think they don't show up on holes at all.
Yeah, these are not great chips. They cause flashing. They're dimming chips. Yeah, I would put them all in F. Yeah. I don't really like them too much.
Plus the damage, the damage is low. Yeah. Man, sensors are not what they used to be. This ain't BN3, folks. This is not BN3. You can try to sensor slide. Yeah. You could go all in sensor slide. Like that is a thing. So like that, you know, there is a use for them. C for sensor 3, and then I don't know.
I think C's really good for sensor 3, and then the other ones, yeah, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, let's throw them an F. Oh, I love boomers. Boomers are such fun chips. They don't flash the opponents. They literally do a big boomerang across the field. On your opponent's side, they will leave grass panels.
Yep.
And they can be charged up with Tomahawk. What's your take on the boomers?
Honestly, they're all solid. I think Boomer is easy A tier for all 3. Like,
Agreed.
I think these chips do so much. If I remember correctly, let me see if I...
I like
yeah, Boomer comes in JK and T, which is really solid codes. T having the tornado, of course. And
yeah,
J
I don't know the difference between the chip codes, but I like the effect a lot. I think they're all just very good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, now we've got Lance. Lance does have some combos with wind racks and things like that. I believe it's star code. 150 is not nothing. It will only hit the back row, but like I said, you can wind rack into it. And then also a fun thing too about Lance is like usually opponents will try to camp the back row to dodge like Tomahawk or Slash Cross, so it's not super hard to get them in that position. What do we think about Lance?
I think Lance is a really great star-coded chip, but it doesn't do... like, if you're doing, like, wind rack combos, you can make your opponent bounce around the field and set up big hook with it. Like, there's some nice things you can do with this. You can wind rack somebody in Elec Cross into the back row and then lance them for double the damage, and then follow it up with, I don't know, literally anything.
I see, not third person. I love this. He says C for combo or B for big hook. What do you think? I think C personally, but
I think C. Also, I do think Mega Boomer might actually be worth an A because of that damage output alone.
I think
I do agree with that.
Unless we're thinking that I think they're all like currently. Unless we're
okay, yeah, they all are A.
Yeah.
S tier, I don't see it as S tier material. Definitely A build. Yeah. Actually, I like that.
Cool.
So yeah.
I can see a world where Lance is B, but I
can see a world where Lance is BT. I like B Lance.
Yeah, me too. B for big hook. Don't play big hook, kids. Don't play big hook. All right, Golem hits. Golem hit 3 can do some frozen stuff, and it's in a code that can do it. Also, Golem hit 3 is kind of cool because it's a really fun slash cross punisher. Obviously, slash cross wants to be in the front row, where they can get hit by this Golem fist. The fist is kind of janky. I will admit, the fist is not the weirdest. It's not the easiest thing to aim. I think 3 has some uses. 1 and 2 though, I'm pretty down on.
I think like 1 and 2 are like D at best, but I definitely think Golem Hit 3 is like an A tier card.
You think
that's
A?
I
was thinking like B or C.
Anytime you have a really powerful battle chip that's on code that checks slash cross, I think that card's. I think that's a great battle chip. I gotta tell you, bro, slash cross is the scariest thing, and this is a real time 250 damaging battle chip. Like, yeah, maybe B. I'll give it B, but I definitely think Golem.
You
Hit
can't
3
sleep
is
on
amazing.
it. Yeah, you should not be sleeping on it because the fact that you have the real time opportunity, and once again, it really only hits the front row, but slash cross is going to be in the front row, so
it also punishes someone camping forward with life aura. It can counter hit people unsuspectedly going for charge shots. It has a lot going for it.
Yeah, I think in fact, looking at the rest of the B chips, I think it's better than the rest of the B chips.
100%, which is why I think it should be an A. It's definitely better than most of those chips in there.
Let's do it. We'll do bottom of A. Bottom of A or top of B? I'm gonna put them bottom of A so people don't sleep on it. People might sleep on stuff in B. I want people to think about Golem Hit. That's a cool chip.
It's a really cool chip.
All right. Oh man, we've got these little armadillos.
F.
Not even worth talking about. They're just...
Yo, there was a day where Salad was trying to make this chip work so hard, but I commend the effort. She tried so hard. She was like, I can do something with this, I swear.
F for effort. F for effort right there. That's,
not good enough.
Just not happening. And there's even a program advance. I don't even think that does anything. Yeah, it's not great. All right, air spins are cool. Air spins are cool. They spit out a little device that shoots 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, depending on if it's 1, 2, or 3. And they will hit up to 8 more times if a tornado or static will connect with them. Now, the timing's really awkward. Air shot 1 leaves like almost right away. I think air shot 2 and 3 last a little longer. But yeah, they're interesting. What's your take on air spin?
Honestly, I think these are solid battle chips. High B, if not low A.
Yeah.
Like, I think these are really good chips. Even if you're not going for the combo, I feel like these are slept on because of holes. I think it's holes that hold them back a lot.
Yeah, it is holes. Holes definitely, like, kill a lot of stuff.
They don't go into the hole, but they stop moving forward once they meet a hole, right?
Yeah, so it's harder to connect with the opponent, and it's harder to do your tornado tactics. Yeah. I like top of B. I think top of B seems pretty good. And so they are another life aura killer, which is always fun.
Also, funny enough, on impact, they do still have the wind hitbox. So if you can't body block it with a life aura barrier, it will still blow it away, which is hilarious to me.
Oh, that's cool. All right, we got wind and vacuum. I saw some vacuum get played over the tournament a few days ago. One blows the opponent away, one sucks them in.
B tier both. B or A for both. I think they're really solid chips. Controlling movement is always good.
I like B. I think B for both seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I think B for both is really good.
You know, they are interesting. Now, I think if you had to pick one or the other, I feel like Vacuum can maybe set up more combos. Like maybe Vacuum. But do you think it's enough of a difference for them to be in different tiers? They're probably both.
I think the pulling effect with an Ice Seed and like placing it in the very center of your opponent's like field after a panel grab is very devastating. So I can see that, but the push, yeah, I guess the push isn't used too often, not as often as the pull, but I think they're still both really solid.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the rest of B tier. I think B is kind of like for the niche stuff. Like if you really wanted that effect, you would play it, right? Like even if we can't think of something off the top of our head, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I think it's fine. I think it's kind of cool. And obviously these are both fun chips to have in the back row, right? If you can put them in a spot where it's difficult to interact with, that's always a blast. All right, so we are now on to the reflectors. 1 and 2 are hot trash, but Reflector 3 is 200 damage in Star Code, which is not nothing. They're pretty good at fishing for counter hits and full sinks. What's your take on Reflect 3?
Reflect 3 is nice B tier.
Love it. Solid to me.
It's a sleeper chip. You almost never expect it, even if you see the open setups. Like, I love this chip. It's a pretty good chip.
Yeah. Oh man,
easy counter hits off of that into full synchro.
Easy counter hits, lots of fun, and unlike other games, well, I don't know about 4 and 5 actually, but I know in previous games they used to hit and be a shockwave. In 6 is just instant. It's like you get hit and like boom, it's right there. You're taking that 200. So yeah, good
slash stuff. Cross. You say, oh, Tengu cross. Oh yeah, go ahead and hold this counter hit real quick.
Yep, love it. Now, talk about a fallen champ here, Snakes. This chip used to be wood, so it used to not flash the opponent and hit for elemental damage.
Yes.
Man, just weak. The whole thing with Snakes is, if you guys don't know, they literally get summoned from holes and only from your side. So you want to grab as much area and do a get-in, and then just spam those snakes. But even with all the setup, it's just like not good. It's just not that much damage.
It's actually not bad with all the setup. If you have like attack plus 30 on it or anything of those sort, it does do a decent amount of damage. It just doesn't do the elemental damage. Honestly, I would put it in C. Like with the setup, you can actually get some really good value out of snakes. It's just not top tier anymore. If it was grass, I think this would be a much more devastating chip. But I think C tier is a really good home for snakes.
Okay. I think C is fine. Alright. Oh, Summon Blacks. I think 3 is the one that gets splashed the most. I think it's Z code or something. These are really cool chips. They get summoned from a hole in front of you. They will just lock onto the opponent like Proto Man, and they will swing a sword. Even though it says it's neutral, they're actually swords, which is cool too. You could chip charge them if you wanted to, as well as actually just decrossing. I think 1 is pretty meh. I think 1 is basically always outclassed by 2 and 3. But they're solid. They're really cool chips, and they're a great way to punish Tengu Cross.
100%. I think 1 is F tier.
Yeah, you're just never gonna use it.
You're never gonna use it. But 2 and 3 though, 2 has that. Unlike Golem Hit 2, it has that 200. I think these chips are definitely A tier. Like these are really good chips.
Let's do it. I don't remember what the codes are for 2 and 3, but I know that one of them is in Z code, and I think that's 3, which is pretty hype, because then you get like you can do some crazy shenanigans. All right, man, I have a soft spot for Number Ball. I do. I have a soft spot for Number Ball. I know it's not an amazing chip. I know it's not. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have really awkward number placements. You can't really control the damage. In Magical Christmas Land, you're dealing almost 500 damage because it's 5 balls that get shot out at 99 damage. I don't know. I'll let you. What do you think? What's your take?
C tier.
Okay. I can live with it.
I think if you're playing an end code build, you definitely play this chip, or at least you consider it because it You can start off the game with 99 HP if you play an HP bugged build, and you can get that 98 HP or that high damage value out of it, right? But yeah, I think you can definitely make this work.
Well, in that case, do you think it has a B code use? If you think N code folders should consider it?
If you're playing N code, then I definitely could see a B, because this is a really solid. Actually, it's PZ who put me onto this chip because he showed me his N code folder and it had this in it, and it kind of slaps. I can't lie.
I love it. I'm a lot. The Numberman fan of me is a lot happier with B, so that's hype. Let's do it. Meteors, another chip that I think used to be a lot cooler than it is. It still sees play though. I think it's fire damage.
Yeah,
it definitely. You basically cannot dodge it because it will hit a panel. Now, the less panels the opponent has, the more damage it will hit, because it's 30 meteors divided evenly. Well, not evenly, but divided as much as it can among all the panels. Yeah. What do you think of meteors?
I think this is an A tier chip. Like
A tier.
This is really
A's
good.
high. I was thinking B
high.
or C for sure. You think A?
Nah, you play this in that code. Like, you play Meteor. If you're playing R code, you're playing Meteors. It's that good.
That's
Imagine
fair.
catching a Tomahawk Cross in this with a boosted. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
A, okay, let's do it. I like it. And I will
It's
say
not-
too. Say it again. What were we saying?
Not S tier good, so you wouldn't see it just off randomly in off codes decks. But the damage on it is pretty respectable.
Well, then let me ask you this: if this almost feels like Numberman to me, where it's like if you're in our code, you're gonna run it, and if not, you're not. I feel like B is pretty fair, like high B.
No, I still give it to it because the value of the damage is set and it's elemental.
Okay, and I will say this too, maybe as another nod in Meteors' favor. There's a lot of Sun Moon cheese out there.
Yeah,
It is a part of. Look, I don't vouch for Sun and Moon. I think it's a lot of fun if you pull it off. I don't vouch for it, but if you did want it, all three of those chips are good on their own, right? Attack 30, Meteors, and Uninstall are all solid. So, that is a little. You can put a little check on your checklist for Meteors. All right. Justice 1. Justice 1 will only deal 220 right in the middle. Otherwise, it deals 100. It will do breaking damage. It will also crack all those panels. It's really hard to dodge. I love this chip. What do you think about Justice 1?
I think Justice 1 is an A tier chip, not because of the damage, really. Not because it's 100% because it cracks panels. It is a one-sided pseudo Geddon. It's a baby Geddon, and that alone is ridiculously good.
Yeah, and it's another. It will decross slash. It's not going to hit for massive damage unless it's in the middle, but it's another slash decrosser. And,
it's not a true slash decrosser. It only has the breaking damage on the
center.
panel.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the 100 is neutral if it's not in the true center.
Yeah, the best case you're gonna get 100 damage out of this, crack all your opponent's panels, and possibly get rid of anti-damage or a trap if they have that set up, which is solid for.
It's like an offensive Geddon 1 from the previous games. It's offensive, It deals damage, and it only cracks their side too, which is fun. Yeah, and also I do want to note it's still A tier. I'm not going to say that it's not, but there's a particular stage layout that's got a hole in the middle. And it will just whiff this poor little fist right away. It's quite funny and quite sad.
Yeah, it's the funniest. It goes into the hole. It's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Potato said the same thing. Yeah, it is. So sometimes if you have really bad luck, you have a totally dead ship in your folder. But otherwise, it's still really good. Ooh, I love Magnum. Magnum does a lot, gang. Magnum is cursor, so it's going to break through the traps. Yep, it's going to break through the traps. It does holes. Right, and you can also set them up in so many ways, right? Like you can do the horizontal, the vertical. Like you can lock the opponent out of weird spots. I saw a really clever thing the other day. Someone used Magnum to destroy. They did it vertically. Horizontally, and they stopped the Colonel Force soldiers from coming out on that whole row, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, a lot of really cool stuff. Magnum is awesome. Magnum is really, really awesome. Super strong chip. I think the only thing holding it back would be like not being in your code, and even then, I think it's in L code. You'll see a lot of Magnum L's. Code. Ooh, yeah. which is always
W
cool
code
too.
with barrier 200 is always splashed into off code.
It's W, L, and I think F or something. I think
yes.
Your
F code is really good for it too.
Your favorite. All right, now we got Cursor Gun, which is like a way worse Magnum.
This chip is just not great. I would do D tier for it because, it's just not great, dude. it does do damage around your opponent's border, so if they're camping in the center, it won't hit. You can punish someone camping forward or camping in the back with it. It does do cursor damage, which is always solid. It has respectable damage, of course. But if they're standing on a hole, it does nothing.
Yeah. Oh, is that right? They also won't fire on holes either?
Yeah.
It's like they're like base.
Holes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's what makes them pretty sus.
Yikes. And they don't crack. Like, once again, Magnum is just better in pretty much every way. Okay. Ooh. Rock Cube is interesting. Kind of.
F. If you're gonna back row an object or place an object on the field, you need to be getting
give
more
some value. Yeah, give it value. Because think about it, right? Like literally, wind or fan is like Rock Cube with extra effects. I mean, obviously, I think the HP is lower, but
so Rock Cube to me is such a new bait, right? You play this chip, right? You put a Rock Cube on your opponent's board. You're like, yes, now they have this thing I can hide behind. I'm safe. I can do whatever. And then your opponent sucks it up and shoots it back at you for 200, and you're like, it did nothing but sit there and give them damage. So I don't know. And you suck it up with a Dust Cross, of course, but not good enough. No.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. So we'll throw that down. Okay. Time Bomb. There are 3, by the way. If you guys are curious, for whatever reason, Time Bomb, and this is like a Link Navi chip thing. If you guys collect the real life Link chips, I don't know why this is the case, but Time Bomb 1 is separated from 2 and 3. Whatever. We'll do all 3 of them. They're all bad.
Yeah, they're all bad. Like
you could. I think I've seen a Giga Time Bomb once do some hype, but yeah, I think
there's some interesting stuff you can do with Time Bomb 3 though, right? If you're in a row and there's like a couple of holes in front of you, you could spawn the Time Bomb 3 in their back row because it goes to the next available panel, not just in front of you. Okay. So there's some interesting tech with it.
Would you put it in D? Or do you think it's still F?
No, I think I'd still put them in F. They just... All right. This is just not good enough. Just not good enough.
Plus, they can be destroyed. It's like, it's not guaranteed damage. They only last for a little bit of time. Yeah. Cool. All right. Mine. It's gotten a nerf since previous games. I think it used to be 300. Yeah. It is an obstacle, so I think you can get rid of it with other obstacles. I also think... I'm pretty sure in BN6 you can see where the mine will end up. It's not like pure random. You can actually like look at where it ends up. I do believe it pierces invis, which is not nothing. But overall, kind of lacking. I think. What's your take on that?
The other big thing is that float shoes completely invalidates it. So if your opponent goes to beast out Falzar, they can just walk over this until they find their get-in or their way to like get rid of it on their field.
How funny.
It just doesn't do enough. Not enough bang.
Yeah. Are we thinking F, D? What's the deal?
Yeah, I think F. It just doesn't do enough.
What about D just for the raw damage output and invis piercing? Do you I think it's still better. I agree. We're splitting hairs. But I think there is like a use for it. I think it's, I'm looking at some of the F stuff and I'm like, ugh.
Imagine using mine, right, and then going for area grab to get advantage, and then you walk.
You hit your own one. Yeah, I believe it's the biggest. It does happen.
It's the worst, bro.
It does happen. Yeah, it does. It's not great. But yeah, piercing invis is cool, which I think is kind of fun. All right, we've got the whole lineup of the music guys. I think that the ones that make you, I think fanfare is probably the best. Invincibility. Maybe immobilization's okay.
There is one more thing about mine, and this is the last like nail in the coffin. If you are skilled enough and you pay attention, the animation shows you where it is.
Yeah, I said that.
That's what it was. Oh, you did say that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not even. Yeah, it's not even. You're right. Maybe we could. F seems mean, but I think bottom of D is fine. I don't know. It's like it does pierce invis.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
That's fine, then.
Okay. If you got a strong push for F, we can throw it there. I'm down either way.
Yeah, unfortunate. It is a really strong chip in like older games, but just not here.
Okay, we'll do it. He can hang out with the cool kid club with Step Sword. Okay, I think that Fanfare is the best of these guys. I know one of them confuses, the other one immobilizes. I don't know what the last one does. Silent, does it stop them from using chips, maybe?
The one that immobilizes is okay, but Fanfare generally is the best one. I think the one that immobilizes would be in D tier. Fanfare would be in like B tier, and then I would put the other two in like F, because you just don't really care too much.
Yeah, I don't remember what the colors are. I know Fanfare. What were we thinking?
Fanfare is yellow, and Timpani is the one that immobilizes.
You say Fanfare in B? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah.
I like it. Which color is immobilization?
Immobilization is the pink one.
Okay.
Timpani.
So that's D. And then, yeah, F.
Discord, and I always forget the last one.
Yeah, it's like silence, I think.
It is silence. You're right.
Okay. Cool. Oh yeah, it's blinding, I think is what the other one does. Yeah. Okay. Vidal. I would like to like this chip more than I do. Throws out right. Throws out an obstacle. It will copy the damage that you deal to it, but it won't copy multi-hitting. It's got to be one attack. It also leaves a poison panel, which you know, sure. It's also part of the darkness PA. What do we think about Vidal?
I think you have to really build around this for it to be good in any capacity. So I would throw it in C tier. But if you do get some setups for it, it can be pretty nasty.
What do you think is the best case scenario for Vidal? Like, what's like the? What do you think is
honestly
like the ultimate?
Anything with Elec Man? Like Elec
yeah.
Man is such a slept-on combo.
Yeah.
And if you have Vidal an object and then you Elec Man your opponent, you got some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, and people are commenting it does pierce invis, which is cool. So that's that is always interesting. All right, we've got Guardian. Man, so many ways to get rid of this thing. It's 200 damage. I think it also pierces invis. It will punish either person who damages it. But like in a world of Dustcross, in a world of like I don't know,
the like best use I've gotten out of it is kind of like a pseudo reflector, where if my opponent is attacking me and I drop Guardian, they have to take it. Or if your opponent goes for Blast Man and you drop Guardian, you block Blast Man.
Wait. That's actually such a great way to think of this chip, though, because if you think about Reflector, that's 200 damage, not, you know, it's not flashing. You can fish for counter hits. It's in star code, right? And it's not like a time freezing, put an obstacle in the field. I feel like Reflector is like a lot better than Guardian.
No Guardian, unfortunately. Guardian is locked to the O code, so it's like you have to be out of
so awkward.
Users. Or I could just use Reflector and get the same decent value, you know? But the difference here is that it's a time freezing chip, so you can respond to Blast Man with this. You can respond to...
That's true. It is. There are some defensive... Yeah, some defensive... That's true. It's almost like an anti-navi in some ways. It can kind of... like block an attack. Like
honestly,
D?
I think D is a safe choice for it. It does have uses outside of what it is, but... Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Anubis, you would probably only really run for Poison Pharaoh. The damage output isn't super high. It's like a drain. You know, it's also pretty frail. I think it's like 100 HP or something.
Yeah, you'd have to back row it for it to be like super useful, or do the PA. And because of that, I would say D tier.
Yeah, I could maybe see C.
I could see C
if you want to do some like Poison Pharaoh stuff.
Yeah, I could see C.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it personally, but it's pretty hype when it gets pulled off. It's definitely like a lot of fun. All right. Oh, Otenko is another really interesting one in a weird code. He's in the O code. He basically, the longer he's on the field, he will charge up your next chip. That I think it has to be non-time freezing. Maybe it does time freezing too. I'm not sure. I think you can do it up to 3 times.
Non-time freezing, but you can combo it with Gundell Force, so
you can.
Yeah,
you can.
I would put it in like a B tier because of that niche, but I don't know. It can be destroyed into objects, so maybe C tier is probably better for it.
Yeah, B or C, I think. I think it's like, the best case scenario for this
patch
chip.
card format. That's the problem for me. It's just too slow. It's a lot of waiting for it to get its results, and then going for the combo. and it's a setup in a format where everyone's doing really crazy stuff quickly. Sometimes it just doesn't feel right for it, so that's why I kind of put C.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a. How about B, only because I think like you can't, like in the world where you pull it off, it's pretty devastating. Like you can basically win off a gun like a Colonel Force or a Super Vulcan if you can get it going. That's
fair. I wouldn't mind putting B for it.
Okay, cool. Okay, we're gonna throw basically all of these into F. 200 I think could be D, and 300
I think 200
maybe C.
Yeah, I think C only because it comes in Z code.
Yeah.
Which is on code with Grab Revenge and
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary. Okay. And then 300 I would probably put in A.
Cool. Solid.
Actually, I would even put it in staple tier actually because it's just really good. Yeah, I would put it in staple tier.
Oh man. Okay, so this is my own thing. Like I think recovers, they are like, don't get me wrong, they're obviously very good until damage judge matters. But you can chip charge them. You can chip charge them.
You can chip charge them for damage, and yeah, it makes it sometimes go to damage judge, but you survived to damage judge, right? You had the opportunity to get to damage judge, whereas if you didn't have them, you probably were deleted in the first place. You know what I mean? Which is why I think putting them in not S tier, but staple tier, because you do see this tech off code very often, even in J code. It's 600 HP at your disposal when you need it.
For sure. And that's like, if you think of like chip to chip, like very few chips in the game are actually out. Like to be able to, like, if we had a chip that said deal 300 damage easily, we'd be like, oh my god, amazing, right? Like that'd be an awesome chip. So the fact that you can heal it is pretty good, you know. Obviously, once again, damage judge, you have to think about it, but you can chip charge them, which is like pretty insane. So how about S? Do you actually think staple?
I think they're staples. They're like, again, you don't have to run the staples, but you probably should. And if you have low HP, like even big HP builds have been running 2 of these. So even low HP builds play 2 of them. Like this 1500, 1400 HP builds that actually play 2 of these. You think see it very often.
Yeah, but you think even better than like Muramasa, Neovari, the Honeys, like.
I mean, it's 2 chips, but they nullify the damage from 1 Muramasa. You know what I mean?
Yeah, staple just seems high, but I really like S tier. I really like S tier, but if you really think staple, I mean, it is a. I'm not gonna like. Obviously, a lot of people run it. It's a very good chip. Like I'm not.
It is very commonly run. It has to be staple tier.
Okay.
Like you don't see a lot of builds that play Machin Gun 1. You have the option to. You can also not play Windwrack or less Windwrack, but you probably generally would. It's the same thing with Recover 300s. There's usually no downsides to running that Recover 300 chip because it guarantees you longevity. And if you're surviving, then that means I'm thriving in some way, some form.
Yeah, I think what gives it the nod is the chip charging. Like you can be offensive with them if you need to, which I think really is really nice. Yeah, cool. You sold me. You totally sold me. All right. Panel grab. You actually taught me how good panel grab is. I used to be kind of a panel grab Debbie Downer. But the fact that you can make really awkward positions for the opponent to get back is cool. And heaven forbid, if you're doing some janky object tech, you can do some really, really fun stuff with panel grab.
I think area grab and panel grab both just go straight up to staple tier. 100%. Like, look at what PZ was doing this past tournament. He was running, I believe, 3 area grabs and 2 panel grabs just for the chance to put opponents into that corner configuration where they take all 8 hits from Meteor Knuckle. Yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah, it is cool. Cool. Alrighty. How about the 2 grabs? The grab revenge and grab banishes.
Now, grab revenge and grab banish are definitely mandatory in some capacity in every folder. You need one, if not both. 100% one of at least one of them. So yeah, they would go to staple tier in my opinion.
Cool. I did see a really interesting comment from chat. They were saying you absolutely run area grab, no questions, but maybe you don't run panel grab, so maybe panel grab and S.
Yeah, you could put panel grab in this, but you absolutely do play area grabs, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Alrighty, we are hopping back up here. Cool. Alrighty, we've got repair or panel return, I think is what it's called. This is another chip that I think maybe a newer player would look at this and be like, what? Like, this chip kind of sucks. Like, it just repairs your panels. But the fact that it can be chip charged is very, very cool. I think it's basically what makes a silver bullet like chip like this usable. Because obviously,
think of it like this, right? You have your Counter Force, you have your Gundell Soul, you have your Wind Rack, you've got game. But hey, man, all these holes on my field mean I can't press that button. But if I got that panel return in my hand, I'm dropping the whole combo the same turn right now. If my opponent used Geddon and now I'm stuck and I'm just eating Grega Buster, I can panel return and now I can move again. Panel return I think panel return is S tier. I think it's such. Honestly, I would almost put it in staple, but no, you really can't because it's.
Well, I think
it's not that good. I think it's good for Gregar.
Yeah, I do see chat saying staple. It could very well be a staple in Gregar. But yeah, I think S is fine. I think either way is pretty fine. They're both just like they're just good.
Yeah.
Geddon Star Code destroys all panels, and you could run 2 of them. It's actually at a weird megabyte breaker. What do we think about Geddon?
S tier.
Right.
S tier. S tier.
Yeah. Another
S
one.
Tier.
Another just
no,
like
no, not S tier. Excuse me. I'm lying. Staple tier.
Yep.
Staple.
No, it's insane. It's the policeman of like so many fun, janky little things. Yeah.
You don't want to see this chip in staple tier because it lets people be like ignorant, right? You can just run. You can literally run this in any build, and it's always going to be valuable. It's just that amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
and in Star Code.
In Star Code, it's just
and it's 2. They could pack 2, man. Like it's like 1 is not good enough, man. You could have 2. So funny.
Do not know what they were thinking, man. Do not know.
Yeah, crazy. That's probably in my opinion like one of the bigger mistakes. Like there's not a lot of mistakes with BN6, but I think anyway.
For sure.
I have seen Holy Panel get used. I don't like it. I think I'm not a fan of Holy Panel. It doesn't start.
It's on par with the Holy Panel because now you're making a hole an area that you take half damage. It's on par with panel return is what I meant to say. Okay.
Well, you're saying it's as good as panel return?
Yeah. It is not a niche. It is actually it's won games before. It's turn like imagine your opponent has Kernel Force and you drop the Holy Panel.
No, I agree. It's not hard to think about. I just feel like I feel like A is pretty good if you're
I don't mind A. I could see S2. It doesn't do all your panels, it only does one. It is also Star Code, you could also chip charge it. But I think A is pretty good too.
Yeah. Cool. Alright. Well then there you go. That's another great example of like, you know, sometimes it's hard to evaluate a chip, you know, like you see one panel. Okay, and the reason why is obviously Sanctuary. Sanctuary is all your panels, you know, but it's not in Star Code.
Sanctuary is 100%.
I put in staple. I would put in staple
too.
Yeah. I know that not every folder does run it. I know it's not like, you know, I know there are definitely folders who give it up, but I think you have to at least consider it, you know. You have to decide to yourself like, is it you know, is it worth not having it, you know, in my folder? I think it's just so powerful. And once again, unlike other games, this is not a mega chip. You get your full slot access regardless of whether or not you play it. Extremely powerful. Very, very good chip.
For sure.
And thankfully, unlike other games where it's really oppressive, BN6 has a lot of ways to deal with it, which is cool. I like all the counterplay with panels in this game a lot, because sometimes you play a game like BN3 and it's like, oh my lord, like what do I do against this thing? So it's cool. All right, we got the going roads and coming roads. I think one of them is a sensor slide. You need maybe both. I think you need both for the sensor slide, right?
Yeah, you need both for sensor slide. You can get some really unique setups with these chips, especially since float shoes isn't a program that's so common. But you can definitely do some interesting things with them.
Yeah. C? Maybe D? Do you think the interesting things are like? Are the interesting things like that much better? I feel like it's just like sensor slide or bust. I guess there's some other stuff you could do with the with those panels, but I'm struggling to think of them. Also, fun fact for everyone at home: wood attacks destroy these panels for whatever reason. They just get rid of them. So like, you know, that's a fun little thing to think about. What do you think? There is a sensor slide, so I can't just throw them in F. You know,
I honestly think they're C or D. I think C or D is fine for these roads.
How about we'll say C.
I think C is fine.
Just to be nice.
Like, you can get some really interesting traps with them too. Like, I think C is pretty good.
Cool.
It requires setup.
And Potato had a cool thing too. It's like you can trap on the area grabs, right? There's stuff you can do. Okay, slow gauge and fast gauge I think are both staples.
Yeah, staple chips, 100%, and so is full cust.
Absolutely. I have a quick question for you. This is just an opinion, right? This is obviously not anything more than that. Do you think fast gauge and slow gauge, do you think they should have been replacement effects, or do you think they should have been slow it down or speed it? Like, do you think you could go back to normal gauge? Like, do you think, like, which one do you prefer?
I actually like that they replaced because it gives you much more responsibility over the chip. You can't just willy-nilly change things up, and if it, like, you have to be really smart with how you play your gauge because it does replace, right?
Yeah.
If it neutralizes to like the standard gauge, I think that's kind of boring.
Yeah, it would be less impactful, right? A lot less impactful. Cool. Just an opinion. All right, Buster Up. Literally raises your Buster. You can go beyond 5. And like, I mean, you could do some fun, like, you know, Buster Bug, Cheese. In patch cards, I see them pretty decently, actually. I feel like in patch cards, you can do some Buster stuff.
I do not think this chip is S tier. I think you're kind of dead wrong if you think this is... I don't even think it's a staple chip. In standard play especially, you don't really see this at all. I think...
Don't listen. Sleazy, he's trolling. Don't listen to him. He has no idea. But yeah, I think A is fine. You know, they're niche. Maybe not. Maybe because you're right. In standard play, they're pretty like if you're going all in on like a Buster Bug, they're like you know, a little weird. But still, like patch cards, you got to give a little nod to patch.
Even
cards,
in patch cards, you're usually getting most of your high attack stats from your patch cards. You can use like 1 or 2 if you really need to hit that 100, but even in patch cards, you're not seeing... Like, if you're playing base BX, and base BX isn't even meta in patch cards, unfortunately, as much as I want it to be. It's really not, because you don't get chip heal out of that. Right. You can get chip heal and attack 10 very easily from patch cards. So even in patch cards, I don't see it as that good. It's like a really niche, like, reg tech if you have 9 attack and you want that 10. I would honestly put them in D. Then it's not a necessary chip at all.
How about C? Because I feel like there are better uses than like. I agree. I'm not going to vouch for this chip as like an amazing chip. And in fact, it's probably a trap. You know, like it's probably you probably should not go all in like Buster Bug, like Busters. But you know, it's this is a chip. I'm seeing a lot of different answers from people, and it's pretty fun. Like how polarizing Buster Up seems to be.
And in standard play, it's just very bad. And we do have some patch card chips in this tier list, unfortunately, because they were there. But this is mostly a standard orientated tier list, and in standard, I honestly think that chip is kind of just really mid. It doesn't do that much for you.
How about C? Can you agree to C?
I think C is fine. Like if you try to go for attack 10 builds in standard, that's okay. But you have to spend time looking for that.
Yeah, you're giving up so much. Like those 5 chips that you're giving up, like are you really pulling off that much damage? You're playing like a weird, like a kind of control deck, right? You're playing like a BDT almost. You're like, we're just trying to win off your Buster. I'm not saying it's like, I mean, I don't think it's that feasible, but like
even with BDT, you never want to combine it with BDT because
I'm not saying you would combine. I'm saying like an alternative. Like it'd be like a it would be like you're cycling through your folder. You're trying to like assemble a Buster kill type of setup. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. And yeah, they cannot be chip charged, unfortunately, which definitely is a bit unfortunate. I don't know why they even made plus or minus an element in this game. I don't think anything really applies to them that much. But anyway, bug fix. A staple of chips to folders that need it. Maybe S because not every folder is bugged.
Yeah, maybe. I think. No, actually, it's staple. I think this.
It's a staple. It's a staple like when you need it. I think every folder needs to consider bug fix, right? Like you need to think about it.
Be staple.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing bugged, you have to play this. I don't see it as an S tier. I think it's staple. It's a staple.
Yeah. Charles got a point. Humor bugs are not going to play it, but like, yeah. But even so,
even humor bugs are playing it because humor is really hard to get without having some other debilitating bugs. So even in humor, after a while, you'll probably be like, all right, I kind of want to get rid of this.
Okay, I think we all know what Invis does, and I'm just going to slot it up to S staple.
Staple?
So,
yeah.
Easy. The easiest decision I've ever made in my life.
You might as well put Life Aura right up there, too.
I mean, I see that anti-damage, man. I see it all. You know?
I see it all, bro.
Yeah, right Exodia's getting assembled. Exodia's getting assembled. That being said, though, that's, just easy mode. Yeah, actually, I think, Life Aura, I think, is another contender for best chip in the game. Extremely good. Just a very, very good chip. Probably not. I think other chips are probably better.
Symes actually didn't put Life Aura in his folder for this tournament, and it came back to bite him. Like, it was rough.
Yikes. Like, what do we know what he slotted out? Like, do we know what he gave up in exchange for it?
He didn't give up anything. He literally just forgot to put it in his folder. It was like, dang, wait, I don't have that.
Yikes.
But what am I doing? Yeah, he's just like, dang, I don't like this.
Yikes, that's a shame. Okay, barrier 100, barrier 200. Obviously they all are pretty similar. The wind does blow them away. I think 200 is a very cool chip. 100, like they're
100. I would say C tier. Barrier 200, I would definitely say S tier, and barrier itself, I would say F tier. I don't think barrier itself is worth the slot.
Agreed. Cool. Seems good to me. Alrighty. Bubble wrap. Man, it's interesting. I think it's better than I give it credit for. So bubble wrap, it does protect you with a bubble. It goes away when you break it, but then it'll come back in a little bit, unless they wind it away. They can blow it off like a barrier, or if you take an electric attack, which will double, you will take double damage, which is a little awkward. I think there are metas where this could be a really cool chip. It's also Z code, I think, maybe Z or Q.
Yeah, Z and Q. Actually.
Yeah, which are both pretty cool.
For sure.
I don't know. I don't think I can properly evaluate this chip.
If this was a patch card list, I would put it in A tier. But since this is standard, I would put it in B tier.
Okay. Cool.
Like, bubble wrap is actually insanely good, especially if you're running like fast gauge strats and you put this out. Now you have a barrier that they have to deal with in the short amount of time of like a fast gauge with all that pressure. I think this is a very solid chip.
Yeah. No, it can be very annoying for sure. All right. Mag coil. Ugh, that's like a sensor chip only.
It's okay.
D. Can we give it D because it has a use?
Give it D. It does have uses.
It just barely squeaks in.
You can make some really cool combos with it, but if you have to build,
way around it, literally all around it. Yeah, D is niche.
It's a niche.
Okay, white cap. I think that your take and the chat's take on white cap will be really interesting. This is a chip that it's kind of like attack 10, attack 30. Put it behind your chip. It's going to cause you to paralyze. Cool for tempo. I'm going to stop. I want to hear your raw take on white cap. Soul, you there?
Oh, my bad. I didn't unmute. I said S tier. It is not quite a staple, but it's actually pretty good. So I'd have to put S tier.
Yeah, I want to take a second to say that I used to be kind of down on this chip because it doesn't deal damage, and I was like, why would you? I was like, if you're trying to kill the opponent, like this doesn't seem that great. And that's a wrong take, and the reason why is twofold. One, being able to combo really nicely. Like, for example, your flashing chips, like it's a really good glue and butter, right? If you want like a smooth folder that's just really offensive and doing lots of damage, like white caps are going to help you Replace your invis flashing with like stunning to follow up with other attacks, and then the fact that it can set up, you know, your fun Super Vulcan, you know, go burr type of strategies. I think it's a really fun chip. So I think S is cool. I think S is fine. It's a really cool chip. Super good. Yeah.
And it's unsuspecting too, for sure. I was running it in F code as a one of. And when you get a Magnum dropped on you or a machine gun with white capsule, you're like, "Oh wait, I can't move."
Bad.
Whoa, yeah,
now, and I don't think the process is long enough for rage either. I think it's under rage.
It's not. It's under rage.
Cool.
It's under rage.
But for people who don't know, I don't know off the top of my head how long the rage, the paralysis has to be, but I think I want to say like 4 seconds.
Over 90
frames, which is like a second and a half.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's uninstalled. Let's just put that to staple. Over to staple.
Gang, I hear a lot of people ask what chips get or what programs get uninstalled with uninstall. It's basically it's never gonna uninstall your like your Buster stuff or HP stuff. It doesn't do the Zoo pieces. It also doesn't do Undershirt for whatever reason, but it will get pretty much everything else. Also, I think custom. It doesn't touch custom either.
So actually uninstalls super armor, air shoes, float shoes, any B plus back.
Shield, anti-damage.
Shield, anti-damage will get removed, and that's about it, I think.
Okay. I feel like there's something else that I'm forgetting, but I can't think of it. So, yeah, solid. Uninstall, very good. So many folders, especially like a Super Vulcan go burr, like you absolutely want to get rid of it. But just being able to get rid of super armor, I mean, it's basically a super armor killer. Like, let's be real. Like, you can also, I guess you can also kill shoes if you want your get-ins and stuff to really be effective. But yeah, for both of those reasons, I think it's an insanely good chip. I might even say it's like the reason to go into like the chip codes that it's in. You know, maybe not the reason. Maybe that's too spicy a take. But still, I think it's G, L, and R, which are all very, very good. So cool. All right, Anti-navi. This is a chip I want to like more than I do. It can bite you. It can bite you. It is still a very good chip, though. I've started cutting it from my list, to be honest. I used to consider this a total staple. Maybe you do Soul. I don't know. It's interesting. It's high value. It's very high value in that it can, like, stealing the opponent's Navi chip and then using it yourself is such a good swing, especially in a star code. But it can bite you, and it can also do nothing if the opponent knows what it is and they trap it or whatever. It's a weird one. I started cutting it from my builds personally, but I think maybe that's a mistake. I don't know.
I see people in chat saying S tier, look, I disagree. Because of the downside of how easily abusable it is, I think it definitely has to be in A tier. And the reason why I say that is Magnums or cursor chips in this game will break it. If your opponent pops you with a charge shot, if they're disciplined enough to hit you with a charge shot to check,
they'll know.
They'll know. You know what I'm saying? And then you have situations like in semifinals. In losing semis, right?
We saw it. I know.
He had Honor Knight just chilling. His opponent, had base with a plus 30 on it. Would have been lethal, chilling. But unfortunately, the opponent had Anti-navi up. So when he pressed his button to use base, Honor Knight was like, okay, but really what you wanted was this element, man, though. So here you go.
Just to explain it to folks, we'll post a clip of it too. But basically, what happens is if you try to use your chip, you have anti-navi up, right? You use your chip, the opponent responds with a navi chip, then your anti-navi will kick in and steal that, but then you'll lose your original chip, right? So like there are times you can sabotage yourself, which is which is unfortunate. But also, I will say you don't have to be in that position. And a weird but cool thing about anti-navi is that you can respond to a navi chip with it and steal it away instantly, which is kind of cool. So, I don't know. I'm mixed. I kind of agree with you on A. I could be argued at S. It is a big swing. Stealing one of the opponent's best chips and using it yourself is definitely... And in star code, it is very good. I don't know. It's such a weird chip. I'm between S and A.
I can't also put in S is like unlike something like Life Aura. Like scroll up to S real quick. Scroll up to S.
Sure, let's see it.
So with S code, right? We have things like Muramasa. There's no real way for Muramasa to come back and bite you, other than you just missing. It doesn't harm you specifically. You can't be taken advantage of because you used Muramasa. If you use Risky Honey, you could be taken advantage of if your opponent has a fire in their folder and they're waiting for it. But that's like the only case. You know what I'm saying? Like
that. I have to say, I think Rock Cubics does have a good argument though. Players are more likely to run anti-navi than panel grab. That is actually a really good argument.
I disagree. I think that's a meta trend. I think that's different, right? We are going to start seeing more panel grabs in folders, especially after its successes that Player Zero has been using. People are going to start being hit to this. And it's not even just Player Zero. Like, a lot of people, like Nerith, have been using panel grab to great effect for a long time now. And I think people are just need to be hip to that being a staple. I do think Anti-navi is really good. I just think the fact that you can be taken advantage of so easily for having that chip, and the prevalence of cursors just destroying chips is.
This is so funny, Soul. This is so funny, Soul, because I think I started off this conversation like exactly on your point of view, but the chat is kind of swaying me. The chat is kind of swaying me. S&A is tough.
Like, even anti-damage, yeah, it can be destroyed by a cursor chip, just like anti-navi can, but anti-damage can't turn around and hurt you, right? And yeah, okay, skill issue. Sure, I give you that. But it is the only chip that has skill issue or error that can really hurt you in comparison to other chips. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's an S tier chip to me. I do think it's really good, and A-code chips are really good. There's some fire chips in A-code, like Super Vulcan, for instance. I just don't think.
How about what do you think about a pull?
All right, pull it.
Yeah.
Pull it.
How about
Sure,
a pull?
why not?
Because I think that's like, because I literally am right on the fence. Like I had your exact take, Soul, like right before this. Because I admit I've started cutting it myself. I'm like something. I'm like, man, do I want this chip in my folder? But like, the swings are good. Yeah, it's I'll ask.
Like, I've seen people actively avoid anti-navi for the reasons I'm talking about.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
sure. Myself included. Yeah. No, myself included. I'll put a 3-minute poll. We'll move on from this and then we'll come back to it when the poll's over.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So next up, we have got, and by the way, again, vote on this poll. What you think anti-navi should be. Okay. We've got anti-sword. Actually, like, it does have fringe uses. You could do bodyguard if you really wanted to. You know, it also does trigger off the shuriken. I don't know. What
I think anti-sword is actually really cool. I would also put this in A tier because it also blocks slash cross and it protects Tengu as well. I definitely think this is a pretty good chip. A tier for sure for anti-sword. And in the worst case scenario, every folder usually plays a sword chip. Every folder. And I'm not talking about muramasa or neo variable.
Yeah, anti-damage shuriken.
Anti-damage.
Right.
Anti-damage shuriken, bro. Every folder has it. So you do have ways to trigger it.
Wait. Hold up. No, the chat is hold up. Okay, but it's funny because people are voting A tier for anti-navi, but then Omnight and Rocky Bucks are like, there's no way you put anti-navi and anti-sword in the same tier.
Are you kidding me? Yes, bro. You get green invincibility and 300 damage out of this chip. This chip is insane. How is that not A tier? And again,
no, not saying not. No. They're not saying. I don't think they're saying it's not A tier. I think they're just saying. I think they're agreeing it's A tier, but I think they're saying anti-navi should be higher.
I disagree. I don't see that.
Hey, I'm looking at the poll though, and people are saying A tier, man. It's like it's 4-9 right now, 31% to 69%. Interesting. Okay, cool. That being said, spicy. Anti-recover.
Anti-recover is so niche, and I know Nerith will hate me for it. To be fair, a lot of builds have been playing double recover 300s in their builds recently, so you could actually get value out of this.
Yes.
I can't give it more than a B, like Raku said. I cannot give anti-recover more than a B or C. I'd even give it a C. Honestly, it's a niche pick. You don't get any value out of that shit outside of beast charges if your opponent doesn't play recovers.
It's a shame like roll's not more meta, or other like if it were more prevalent than just the recover 300s, I think you could maybe, but yeah, it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Copy damage, easy F. Easiest F I've ever seen. Literally does, and same with life sync, does literally
life sync, attack plus 10, navi plus 20, all those color point can go as well.
If I can just go on the record and say navi 20 is so sad. Like there are so few multi-hitting navi chips, let alone ones that would care. Like even if it were navi 40, I don't even know that navi 40 is that good in BN6. Like you would be like Circus Man and I guess the Count or something. It's actually really sad.
Charge Man.
Yeah, or roll or something. Yeah, I guess you could, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Color point is interesting. I don't think it's great.
No point. You have double point. There's no point to color point.
Okay. And then where would you put attack 30?
Staple. Attack 30 and color double are staple.
Do you think staple though? I kind of feel S. Like, Gregor is definitely running attack 30. But, like, are other folders really? I feel like S.
It's not a Gregor or Fowler chip, though. S tier, I do think is acceptable. But if you're playing Super Vulcan, if you're playing base, you can throw this on Colonel Force. There's so many... Like, Colonel Force is in every folder. You could have easily put attack plus 30 on a Colonel Force. No questions asked. You could also put on a Meter Knuckle. Why not? Sure. It just attaches to too many really powerful chips. But I think S tier is fine for it as well. It's not necessarily a must-run chip like the other chips up there. So yeah, S tier is pretty good. Same thing with double point. Double point Bs, attack plus 30 Bs, like
even like machine guns,
really chips. Yeah, machine guns too. Sure, why not? Because that's extra damage. Yeah, they do value. That's value.
Okay, we did pull the audience, and Anti-navi's an A. I'm gonna throw at the top of A, and that's I think it does feel a little wrong, but honestly, I sold for the same reasons. I literally went into the same way that you did. I went in the same way you did, where it's like it can be played around, it can be punished. Yeah, interesting. That's it.
It's more so for me that the hard punish on an anti-navi is so debilitating. You lose. It's like Tango taking your life for it, except you played the chip, right? You played Tango and you lost your life for it, or you lost a very important TFC chip that you needed in this moment, and your opponent said, "Nah, I'm not letting you do that, and I'm taking your Giga away and giving you a Navi." Like that alone is such a hard, and your opponent will know if they're disciplined enough to check, and that's it. The best way to use anti-navis in a TFC, or if you're trying to deny Judgment, which is like the best way to use it, to deny Judgments, so they can't steal back your panels or whatever the case, or whatever you have you. But I think the negatives on an anti-navi, it's a really high risk, high reward chip, and because of that, I can't put it in S. Everything in S is high reward with very little debilitating effects. Anti-navi has such a debilitating effect that it just can't be up in S tier for me.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
No, it would have been the same, you bum.
Look, I'll say this too. The people voted. You know what I mean? The people voted. And it wasn't like a close vote either. It was like 2/3 to 1/3. So yeah, it was we did it as democratically as we could have. Okay. Element
Trap is pretty interesting. I think you could put it in like C tier. It's actually interesting.
What about B? Do you think?
I think B is okay.
Do you think it's B worthy, or do you think it's C worthy?
It does decent amount of damage. You're gonna see those effects. By the way, people who are in chat, that is not a volcano in that art. That is fire above lightning bolts for Elec. That is not a volcano.
That's
I just wanted to put that out there.
It's important.
It's the thunderbolts, the fire, the grass, and water, because it's all 4 elements. There you go.
Yeah. I will say, you can paralyze, but this is true. It does not protect you. It's just damage.
It does not protect you. You will take the damage, and then you get the punish out of it, which is why I said C.
All right, let's say C. We'll do C.
Yeah.
We'll do top of C. Colonel Army. This is not Colonel Force. This is just one little army.
F.
He needs an obstacle. He transforms, and then he does like 3 hits. He's like 120. It's not the most exciting.
Not exciting at all.
Blizzball, water damage. It does, extra damage. It doubles basically. Well, it doesn't double, but it multiplies by itself for each obstacle it sucks up. It's okay.
If you get to suck up an item, it does really good damage, but it's a lot of setup, and you got to make it work. I think D tier is a good spot for it.
Which tier?
D tier.
Could you see a world where it's C? Because you could build around it.
I can't. The reason why I can't is because you're putting stock into it to get that extra value. It's not like you can get a good punish. It's rare for you to get a really good punish with Blizzard Ball.
That's true. It's really rare because you're throwing your own obstacles, and that's just up. Which is just like extra 150, right? It's not even like that's like that crazy. Right. And like you said, like the opponents, it's very unlikely that they will be playing obstacles that you can do.
I would give it to you because starting obstacles are a big thing, like rock cube starting or boulder starting fields. But then again, if you're playing against a Falzar player, I'm just gonna go dust B left.
Yeah,
and that whole niche is gone in the first place. So
there is one map where you could do 450 turn 1, like sucking up both obstacles. Like there's the double rock cube in front of you. But yeah, that's like one map, right? Like that's like that's the best case scenario is pulling that off. So yeah, not amazing. All right, sure. Finally, Big Bomb. That is some trash. That's like I think it's a 9x9 grid after you lob it. I've never seen anyone use it. Right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's 100% F tier.
All right,
no way.
All right, ending off strong. I did see a comment by Julian. He thinks double point could be one lower. What's your take on that? I kind of agree. I think like specific folders are running double point. I don't think it's like you're jamming double point and everything. I think attack 30 is more likely because of Chrono Force. I think that's like and it's safer. I could see double point going to A.
I think double point is fine where it is because you're giving up some area for it, but you can easily go area grab into double point and Colonel Force, and that's crazy damage. Or you can go double point B banish combo. You can go double point Super Vulcan. Double points really
for sure.
Really
for sure. I was just saying I feel like in the grand scheme of things probably less chips.
Oh my gosh, on a night, you're being dramatic. Double point can drop because you can harm yourself with losing area. No, this is not the same. This is not I'm taking hundreds worth of damage and losing because of double point. Usually if you're double pointing, you're going with a banish combo or you're going for a game finisher in that same turn. It does signal to your opponent that something's coming, but in an open setup format or in even a closed format, you have the mix up of the options that you're using, right? You can use it on a dimmer like base, on a dimmer like Meteor Knuckle, or you can also use it on non-Demi chips like Super Vulcan. So it is a bit of a mix up that they have to okay, is it the Super Vulcan or is he about the TFC? Because of that mind game, I think it's really strong. But again, Anti-navi does not have that. There are a lot of mind games with Anti-navi, but you lose so much more value off of an Anti-navi, I believe.
Yeah, I guess for me it's like how many folders are realistically running double point. There's like maybe I'm not denying the power. In the right build, extraordinarily powerful. In fact, in the right build, it's the reason Super Vulcan is even a chip, right? Like I'm not denying that. I'm just wondering how ubiquitous it is. And then it does give up area, right? It's not like, it's not like that's like not nothing. I'm not denying the raw power. I just wonder if there's enough, because it is A is literally built around this, right? And I feel like double point is like kind of a build around me.
Yeah.
You sound so sad.
I think going to A is fine.
All right, let's do it. Why not? Let's do it. Honestly, though, I'm very happy with this tier list. I can't. We'll scroll down a little bit. If anyone in chat has any other last things they want to say, in fact, Soul, if you see anything that you're like, oh, maybe that was a little too high or too low, we'll give it one last good peruse for all the folks at home. I'm really proud of this list. I have to say, I think all things considered, we discussed a lot of, very interesting scenarios. We discussed a lot of, we had a lot of good debates in certain cases, a lot of interesting ones. Yeah, I don't know. This seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm pretty proud of this.
Someone said Bubble Star 3 over 2 and 1. I don't think those are specific orders. Like Risky Honey 1 is above 3, right?
I will say,
it's not particularly ordered.
Actually, this is an interesting point, though. I will say the S tier we added was further in the list, so there were some earlier chips that never got the opportunity to be S, right? Like Gundell Soul 3, the Bubble Stars, which could maybe there's
honestly I could see S tier Gundell Soul 3.
I agree, because
I could see that
combo. That combo is what makes Chrono Force what it is, in my opinion. I think Chrono Force is not the same without Gundell Soul 3 and Q. I also think Bubble Star 3 could be S. I think there's an argument for that. But
Bubble Star 3 S is actually I don't mind that at all.
Okay.
I don't mind that at all.
Okay.
Elec Pulse 2 S as well. Oh, if you're not playing Legacy Collection.
This is true.
If you're playing Tango, it's S tier. Yeah, Elec Pulse 2
true.
can definitely be S tier. I definitely think Elec Pulse 2 is really, really good.
All right, I will put it here so people know not to sleep on it if they're playing on Tango. But yeah, very dependent. How about, do you want to make a literal tier list? I will make a whole row just for Elec Pulse 2, just so people at home know. Don't be playing Elec Pulse 2 on the Legacy Collection unless you are all about Destroy Pulse. I think that's like kind of
And this is for the third one?
I'm making it very clear that Elec Pulse 2 you should only like S tier if it is not Legacy Collection.
Oh yeah.
Just to really, if someone newer is reading this and they're like, oh, why is this, or they think, oh, that's an amazing chip, and they play the Legacy Collection, they're like, what the heck? So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Good to call it out. I also hold up. I messed up the S and the A's too. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah. Anyone else have any last thoughts on any of these? I feel really good about all these placements. I feel very, very good. I think. Yeah. Anyone else? Any last?
I'm looking at this, and no, I think this is a really good list. Yeah. I honestly don't see much wrong with this.
Super proud of it.
I like this list a lot.
Super proud of it. Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, Soul, my friend, thank you so much for your time as always. We always appreciate your humor, your expertise, everything you bring to the table. You're just an amazing friend. Big shout out to you. I guess, chat, if you had to pick another tier list to do in the future, what do you guys think we should cover next? Because we've had a few conversations, Soul and I, maybe like more competitive stuff, maybe some sillier stuff, all sorts of fun ones. Oh, chip codes is great. I think chip codes slam dunk. Yeah, let's do chip codes.
I think chip codes is definitely something I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That's a really, really good one. Okay, chip code sounds good. Yeah, why don't we do that next week? Why don't we do it? We can do another one, maybe even Thursday if you're interested. But I love doing this with you, friend. Really, really good stuff.